Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to get into Trump's bilateral meeting with Putin. No, not Putin, but Zelenskyy. And then we're also going to get into, well, it seems like all of our enemies are taking a hit. Well, China loses 50 billion from the Netherlands. India stops buying Russian oil. It just seems like everything's going our way today. But before we get into that, let's make sure that we double tap that screen and like the video, guys, and let's get right into it.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to be with a very strong leader, a man who has been through a lot, and a man who I've gotten to know very well, and we've gotten along really very well. And we had a big call yesterday, as you know, with President Putin, and we'll be talking about it. President Zelenskyy of Ukraine has endured a lot. I mean, he really has. He's endured a lot, and we've endured it with him. To be honest, it's been a long time, and I think we're making great progress. So we're going to be talking about that today. We'll be talking about what took place yesterday with my phone call with President Putin, and I think that things are coming along pretty well. It began with Alaska, where I think certain guidelines were discussed, and we want to see if we can get this done. This was long ago into the Biden administration. I came here and we inherited this, and we'd like to see if we could finish it, end it. We want it ended. So many people have died in this war, and we're gonna get it ended. So I just want to thank you all very much. If you have a couple of questions, go ahead, please. In fact, before I do that, let me just ask the President to say a few words. Thank you, President.
Pleasure. Glad to meet you again, Mr. President. Thank you very much for the invitation. Again, my congratulations with your successful ceasefire in the Middle East.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you did it. And I think this is the momentum to finish Russia's war against Ukraine. I think that, yes, we understand that Putin is not ready. I think not ready, but I think that I'm confident that with your help, we can stop this war. And we really need it. We see that they don't have successful steps on the battlefield, and it's good. I think that their army is weak now, but a lot of losses. They have a lot of losses and in economy and people, and I think this is a very important moment. And I wanted to thank you, Mr. President, after our phone calls. Yesterday I had a good opportunity to meet with the big American energy companies, and they're ready to help us. Yes, after all these attacks on our infrastructure, Russian attacks, and etc. And I had also meetings, thanks to your team. We had meetings with a good military companies. We spoke about air defense, and I want to share it after with details where we are. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Very good. And I think it looks beautiful in his jacket.
Yeah?
It's beautiful. I hope people notice. It's actually very stylish. I like it. Yeah, please, go ahead.
And just like I said earlier in the show, it does seem like Russia's economic support for this war is waning. Like I said, India is, well, they're decreasing, and they're trying to make it a full stop to purchasing their oil from Russia. And it's kind of funny because the government said no, but the Indian oil companies said, yeah, Trump, we got you. And they immediately stopped purchasing from Russia and try to start, allocating their oil purchasing somewhere else. So it does seem like Trump's 25% threat on India, well, it seems like they're doing what we want them to do and stop buying their oil from Russia. Now I'm not sure about the weapons part, but they are decreasing the amount of oil they're buying from Russia. And they said that if the America is willing to go ahead and open up their energy potential or their oil, then they'll go ahead and start purchasing from us.
Under the Biden administration, the White House was fearing of a possible escalation. They were not allowing the Ukrainians to strike into Russia, fearing of this escalation.
Yeah.
Would your administration allow Ukrainians to strike deep into Russia?
We're going to be talking about that. That's something we'll be talking about. You're right. It's an escalation, but we'll be talking about that.
Mr. President, will President Zelenskyy join you in Hungary to meet President Putin?
Because it's a leader that we like. We like Viktor Orban. He likes him. I like him. It's a country that's a safe country. Done a very good job. He's been a very good leader in the sense of running his country. He doesn't have a lot of the problems that other countries have. And so we've decided that we'll be going to be with Viktor Orban, and he will, I think he'll be a very good host.
President Trump, President Trump, President Trump, right here.
It's in
President Trump.
Hungary, yeah. We're doing Hungary, yeah.
With Putin, is it a trilateral meeting, or is it just you and Putin?
To be determined, but I would say most likely it's going to be a double meeting. It'll be a double meeting, but we will have the president, Zelenskyy, in touch. There's a lot of bad blood with the two presidents, and I'm not speaking out of turn when I say it. It's a very difficult situation.
But it does seem like Putin is more willing to come to the table now because he's losing economic support. And I did say that, you know, if we can break Russia's economy, or I would guess stopping their money line, whatever money line it is, it be coming from Iran or India, then yeah, we can get them to stop this war because they don't want to run out of money. And when India stopped purchasing oil from them, that kind of put them in danger of running out of money. And they're not able to get China to buy more oil from them because even China is starting to back away from them.
You know, we just settled the war, and after thousands of years, I guess, people say anywhere from 500 to 3,000 years. And I was in rooms, as you saw, because you were with me, a lot of you were with me last week, with leaders that didn't like each other, but they were able to get along. These two leaders do not like each other, and we want to make it comfortable for everybody. So one way or the other, we'll be involved in threes, but it may be separated.
President Trump, Mr. President, President Trump.
Doesn't agree to peace in Hungary.
Was he what? Where are you from?
From Ukraine. He actually had a
Okay,
conversation
good.
with me
Good,
in
yeah.
Ukraine. What if President Putin doesn't agree to peace in Hungary? What do you do then? Do you have?
Well, let's see what happens. I mean, you know, what if? I think he will. I think that President Putin wants to end the war, or it wouldn't be talking this way. I think he wants to end the war. I spoke to him yesterday for 2.5 hours.
I think he wants to end the war too, because like I said, he's losing oil sales because of this. He's losing economic support, like China's pulling away on rare earth minerals, and then we got India pulling away on their oil. So they're literally losing support from their allies, and it's not looking good for them. Let's be honest. And I'm gonna be real with you, if India actually pulls out completely out of Russian oil, then that's going to collapse their oil industry. And then I don't know what they're going to do at that point.
We went through a lot of details. He wants to get it ended. I think that President Zelenskyy wants to get it ended. Now we have to get it done.
President Trump, Kara Castronova from Lindell TV. And although I love asking you questions, today my question is for President Zelenskyy of Ukraine.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Our President Zelenskyy, President Trump, just brokered a peace deal in the Middle East that all Americans, both sides of the aisle, are very proud of. But to meet that deal, both sides had to make concessions. Our president has stuck out his neck in many ways to make a peace deal for your war as well. What specific concessions are you willing to make to end this war with Russia? Will you give up joining NATO? Americans have foreign war fatigue, and our president, as he said, we need our tomahawks too.
To me.
Yes, you, President Zelenskyy.
Thank you
What
very much.
concessions will you
That's some question. Right?
So many questions
Thank
in one. Thank you very much for your question. First of all, I think we need to sit and speak. The second point, we need ceasefire. Even now, you see in the Middle East, it's very difficult to hold ceasefire. Everywhere, in every war, it's very difficult. We want peace. Putin doesn't want. That's why we need pressure on it. We will speak with President today what we need. We understand what we need to push Putin to negotiation table. And as I said previously, so we are ready to speak in any kind of format, bilateral, trilateral, doesn't matter. Matter just peace. This is important. And we don't speak about NATO or NATO. For Ukrainians, it's very important. Of course, it's our decisions of allies to decide where we are.
But are you willing to give up
Yes, but
joining
the
NATO?
most important thing for people in Ukraine, which are under each day's attacks, to have really strong security guarantees. NATO is the best, but weapon is very important. Allies on our side is very important, and between us, for us, bilateral security guarantees between me and President Trump is very important. I don't know, we didn't speak with details about it, but this is the most important document because United States is very strong.
I mean, I'll give him that one because let's be real, having his own Tomahawk missiles or having his own weaponry, it gives him a lot faster response time than having to wait for NATO support. So I get what he's saying. I mean, the problem is that the more he continues this war, the more he strains out his own forces. And it does seem that even if Russia does stop the war, it's going to be a stalemate. And I believe that Russia most likely is going to keep that land unless we can kind of put their hand behind their back and kind of economically crush them to pull back. And, you know, I would just say that's one thing Trump could do is pretty much say, look, we'll let you back into the global economy. Just, you know, give back Ukrainian land. And that could work. But, you know, they could also use that Ukrainian land to somehow bolster their economy due to whatever rare earth minerals or grain that might be around there.
Sir, President Trump, you are the middleman right now, hoping to end this conflict. Who is doing a better job negotiating, President Zelenskyy or President Putin?
I think they're both doing a great job in that sense. We have to get it done. We've got to take some of the hatred of each other. You know, they don't like each other. I say that in front of President Zelenskyy, but I say it in front of President Putin too. They have tremendous bad blood. It's really is what is holding up, I think, a settlement. I think we're going to get it done, and we have to make it long lasting. As I said in the Middle East, everlasting, right? Everlasting. And the Middle East is a much more complicated situation. You know, we had 59 countries involved, and every one of them agreed. And it's, you know, it's sort of amazing. Most people didn't think that was doable. This is going to be something I really believe that's going to get done. I had a very good talk yesterday with President Putin.
I mean, of course, shout out to Trump for getting the hostages back. Now we got to see if he can get if his threat to Hamas can make them, you know, disarm and demilitarize. And once we get that out the way, I mean, at that point, everything is just smooth sailing. I mean, the main thing is getting Hamas to demilitarize and, of course, getting in with that international stabilization force that's going to start vetting Palestinians to create a Palestinian police.
I think he wants to get it done.
And President Zelenskyy, right behind you. When we were in Israel with President Trump earlier in the week, we heard a lot about the difference in diplomacy between President Trump and President.
Hey, no, that is funny. Shout out Sid. He says, Seth, will you be attending a No Kings rally tomorrow? There is one around here. I'm not sure if it's in Columbus, though. But if it is, sure, I'll go ahead and I'll attend it. Why not? I'm going to see if I can go ahead and catch the Antifa guys out there and, you know, circle them in and let the other liberals, you know, protest in peace. I mean, hey, man, let them talk. Let them cook, man. Let them cook. But let's hope they don't get agitated by the Antifa guys. Because like I said, it does seem a bit strange what's going on right now.
Joe Biden before him. What do you see as the biggest difference in diplomacy between President Trump and President Biden?
President Trump has a big chance.
Now, oh, and shout out my man Sid for starting us off. Appreciate the support, bro.
How to finish this war. President Biden now is not the president, so he doesn't have a chance to finish this war. And President Trump is really showed for the world that he can manage ceasefire in Middle East. And that's why I hope that he will do this, and we will also have such big success. For Ukraine, it's a big chance. And I hope that President Trump can manage it.
I mean, the Middle East was a little bit easier because, well, we actually do have a bit of pull on Israel. Like, we do support these guys. So that we have a bit of pull on them. Now, Russia, I mean, like I said, they don't need no American dollars to go to war. I mean, no American support to go to war, unlike Israel. So that's a lot easier to squash. I mean, even if everybody thinks he's Bibi Netanyahu's puppet, I mean, well, he got this phase 1 hostage deal done, and we all know Bibi didn't really want that. So hey, let's see how things are going. Well, let's see how things proceed. And shout out to my man Anonymous. He says, hope everyone's having a blessed morning. I'm driving through a couple No King rallies later on my way to a side job. 3 years, 3 months, and 3 more days of Donald John Trump. I mean, hey. yeah, I got a while.
I would say the biggest difference is one is extremely competent and the other one is grossly incompetent.
Mr. President.
Sir, a few weeks ago in New York when you two met, you said that you think Ukraine could ultimately take back all the territory that it's lost so far. Do you still think that's the case, or do you think there'll have to be some sort of
You
swap
never
of
know. Look,
territories?
you know, war is very interesting. You never know, do you? You just never know. With war and peace, but you never know.
Are you ready? President,
Please.
Russia calls Tomahawk supply to Ukraine as an escalation, yet it continues using similar cruise missiles like Caliber. And
Yeah.
even,
Who are you with? Who are you with? You Ukraine? Good.
But Russia continue even using the cruise missiles and also nuclear-capable ballistic missiles in Ukraine since 2022. So do you consider providing Ukraine with the Tomahawk or similar missiles as an opportunity to equalize the possibilities of Ukraine and Russia and push Moscow to the negotiation
Yeah.
table?
Sure. We're going to be talking about that. That's why we're here. Okay? Fair question. Exactly as he told you to say it. But we're going to be talking about it. Okay? Yeah, please.
Mr. President. Message to India and Hungary who is still refusing.
You said India and Hungary? That's an interesting.
And Hungary
India and Hungary. It's an interesting combination.
refuse to stop buying Russian oil.
Well, India is not going to be buying Russian oil anymore. And Hungary is sort of stuck because they have one pipeline that's been there for years and years and years, and they're inland. They don't have sea. They don't have sea. And
Okay, yeah, I did look it up. He said, go to the website and see if it's near you. Well, I went directly to the Columbus Dispatch, which is our city newspaper. And let's see here. Ohio set to host dozens of No King gatherings and demonstration on Saturday, October 18th. 12 events in Northwest Ohio near Toledo. 26, of course, 26 in freaking Cleveland. I mean, it's high crime, Democratic ran Cleveland. 18 near Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati has a straight up globalist running them. And of course, 8 in Southeast Ohio, but none in Central Ohio where I'm at in Columbus. Look, let's see here. Columbus, Central Ohio. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here. Wait. No Kings, Westerville. Wait, I'm wrong. You're right. Actually, they do have one in this like rich little neighborhood in Westerville near me. Of course, it'd be them. Of course, it'd be the rich white liberals. Hold on, man. Hold on. Well, man, let me see if I can find some in the hood. Okay, never mind. There's gonna be one in the hood in East Maine.
spoke with
Because I was just like, bro, this only in the outer areas? That's crazy.
the very
Why
great
not?
leader of Hungary,
I'll
and
go.
they are, you know, it's very hard for them to get oil. I understand it. We have Hungary's in a very interesting position because they can't have ports. You know, they're surrounded by land. So we'll see what happens there. But India will not be buying oil from Russia. And, they've already de-escalated and they've
Crazy.
more or less stopped. They're pulling back. They bought about 38% of the oil, and they won't be doing it anymore.
Melania Trump has been helping you in achieving peace in Ukraine.
Who has?
First Lady Melania Trump
Yeah.
has been helping in returning abducted Ukrainian children from Russian captivity.
Oh yeah, and shout out to Melania Trump because she did send a letter to Putin, and Putin was able to send back some Ukrainian children that was captured during the war. So I mean, thank God for that. I mean, hey, and at least it doesn't mean that he was selling these kids off. So thank God they were just prisoners of war. And shout out to Toe. She says, what about Northwest Ohio, Toledo area? Yeah, there's going to be about 26 demonstrations, I believe they said there. Let me see here. No, I think that was in Cleveland. They said 26 demonstrations. But let me go ahead and bring it up right here real quick for you guys. Here it is. See? right there. Boom. 12 events in Northwest Ohio near Toledo, right there. So yeah, this was going down in Ohio in our area. And then in my area, in like, let's see here, the middle of Ohio, we got some demonstrations, but let's see here. We got one in Bexley, that's the Jewish area. We got one in East Maine. That's like where all the businesses are. I don't think that's a smart idea. I mean, on East Maine, that's not a smart idea. Let's see, Capitol. Okay, that's not too bad. I could. That doesn't look like that might be too much of a problem. All right, I'm gonna see how much people actually pull up to those. I'm interested.
President Zelensky, do you appreciate
I know what I'm gonna do
efforts?
tomorrow.
How do you assist them? And did you ask her to step in and to help you?
No, she wanted to do it. She felt very strongly about the children, and she's done a really good job, I think, in bringing it to the fore. You know, we have a lot of children involved. Now, it's some people say it's 20,000, and some people say it's 300. There's a big difference between that, so nobody really knows. But she felt very strongly about the children. She thinks about the children all the time.
President Trump, if you okay tomahawks to Ukraine, what's going to happen if the United States is in a conflict and we need the tomahawks? Do we have enough?
That's a problem. We need tomahawks, and we need a lot of other things that we've been sending over the last 4 years to Ukraine. We've been, we gave them a lot. Now we have a different situation. We send it to the European Union. They pay for it and all that, and they have plenty of money. But it's beyond the money. We need tomahawks, so we need a lot of other weapons that we're sending to Ukraine. One of the reasons we want to get this war over is exactly that.
Now, here's the problem. We start sending tomahawks. We start giving Ukraine tomahawks, and they start striking places in Europe. Who's to say that, Russia doesn't up the ante and start using, I don't know, intercontinental ballistic missiles? I mean, they still got hypersonic missiles over there. So I don't know. We want Russia turning up the heat. Like it could get very deadly.
It's not easy for us to give. You're talking about massive numbers of very powerful weapons. So that's one of the things we'll be talking about. Hopefully they won't need it. Hopefully we'll be able to get the war over with without thinking about tomahawks. I think we're fairly close to that. Yeah, go ahead.
President,
yeah, please.
Just to understand. So for today, of course, we want to finish this war, but the war is another technological war. You don't use just tomahawks. If you want to target a military goal, you need thousands of drones. It goes together with such missiles. Ukraine has such thousands of our production drones, but we don't have tomahawks. That's why we need tomahawks. But United States is a very strong production, and the United States has tomahawks.
See, and that's the thing. So far, it's just been drone warfare. Like the last time Russia pulled out his hypersonic missile, they used it as a warning, and they didn't even put a head on it. They just hit him with a hypersonic and then never did it again. This was like at the beginning of the conflict. So yeah, if they want to start throwing tomahawk missiles, who's to say that Russia's not going to start throwing missiles? Like start doing the same thing, start playing the same game with them. So far, they've been playing the same game with them as far as as far as damn near trench warfare and drone warfare goes. Like that's kind of been the battle, like on the ground and with the drones. He said you should IRL stream if possible. I recommend everyone can go to. Wait, let me see. He said I recommend everyone who can to go. The admin wants to say it's all Antifa and Hamas supporters and terrorists. Hamas supporting terrorists. Everyone should go see for themselves peacefully. You know what? I don't believe that though. They're not all Hamas supporting terrorists. Like, no, some of them actually just believe that Donald Trump is a king or they believe he's a fascist and they want to protest against that. It's not about them, supporting Hamas. Now, I'm not going to lie, there may be some Antifa in the more bigger demonstrations. So I'll ride around and I'll see what's going on and actually see if there's anybody that's going to pull up because who knows? Who knows how big it can get?
Other missiles, very strong missiles, but they can have our thousands of drones. That's why where we can work together, where we can strengthen American production.
And so just so that I understand, so you're suggesting kind of a trade. If President Trump okays Tomahawk missiles to help you launch.
Yes, it's
into
about
Russia,
military goals.
then
It's
you
only
would
about
let-
military goals.
Right, but then you would authorize some kind of an exchange where.
Yes, of course.
the US gets
Yes, we have
Ukrainian-
proposition. Yeah,
And
we have big proposition
President-
with our drones.
President Trump, I don't mean to be brokering an arms deal here, but is that something that you would be interested in, Ukrainian drones?
We are, yeah, we would. We have a lot of drones right now. We build our own drones, but we also buy drones from others, and they make a very good drone. I mean, drone warfare has really come to the fore over the last couple of years because of this war. I will say, there's nothing like the jets. You know, we knocked out a lot of drones in Israel. We were knocking them out for Israel, and we were doing it with extremely fast and powerful jets, following the drones and knocking the hell out of them. So, it's, you know, we know a lot about the drones, and we know a lot about the great jets, the great ones. The ones, well, and the B-52s, which were totally they were stealth. They were undetectable. So we have a lot of different weapons. And, you know, I have an obligation also, though, to make sure that we're completely stocked up as a country, because you never know what's going to happen. In war and peace, right? You never know what's going to happen. So we're going to be talking about Tomahawks, and would much rather have them not need Tomahawks. Would much rather have the war be over, to be honest, because, you know, we're in it to get the war over. We're selling a lot of different types of weapon, as you know, to the European Union. We're not in it for that. We're in it to get it over. We're losing thousands of people a week, thousands of people, Russian, Ukrainian, and mostly soldiers. I mean, mostly soldiers. But we're in it to see that end. And if we can end quickly, and I think we can. I mean, I had a very good talk yesterday. We're going to be talking about it. But I had a very productive talk yesterday with President Putin. We'll see what happens. But the war in the Middle East was far more complicated. We got that one done. And I think we have a good chance. I think President Zelenskyy wants it done, and I think President Putin wants it done. Now all they have to do is get along a little bit.
Can you give us an update on the trade negotiations with China, or perhaps Secretary of Defense?
Yeah, I will, and I'm going to let Scott do that. But I think we're doing very well. I think we're getting along with China.
I think China kind of exposed how desperate they are after that overreach by trying to control everybody's rare earth minerals and trying to limit the supply of what other countries send to America. I mean, yeah, after that overreach, I don't know. It does seem like we are winning the trade war, because it does seem like they're too eager to try to deliver a blow. And it backfired on them. Like, they were hoping that other countries was going to go ahead and try to sabotage America, but it didn't work out for them. So we'll see what China does next.
Would like to have something as of this moment. We'll be meeting in a couple of weeks. We'll be meeting in South Korea.
You think
Myself.
will go forward?
I think so. It looks like it's going forward. I think so. They want to meet. We like to meet. I have a very good relationship with President Xi, and we're going to see.
And shout out Jet. Poor sidewalks going to get yeast infection today. Oh, damn. God damn. Like, man.
Bruh.
Well, I mean, not the yeast infection. You know what? I gotta go out there. I gotta see what these guys are talking about. I'm gonna see if I can make it an IRL stream. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I can pull off, because that requires a decent amount of equipment.
what happens. But, you know, for years we were taken advantage of by China very badly. We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year to China. We really built their military, if you think about it. The kind of money that presidents allowed to be lost to China was just insane. And then when I came into office, as you know, I put very severe tariffs. So we took in hundreds of billions of dollars in my first term from China. Biden let that go because it was so much. He let it continue, but he gave all sorts of exceptions. And by the time you looked at it, Scott, I would say it wasn't the same thing. He would give an exception for anything. If you got up and went out to dinner, he'd give you an exception. So it wasn't the same thing. But I put on very serious tariffs. So we took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and then we I left office. The election was rigged. I left office, and that was the story. Now I come back, and we are in a very strong position because of tariffs. We're in a very powerful position because of the fact that we have tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be in a very weak position. We would be in a weakened state. But with tariffs, we've made hundreds of billions of dollars, not only from China, but from others. And China wants to talk, and we like talking to China. So we have a very good relationship, and we're going to be meeting in South Korea a couple of weeks. And I just got back from a long trip. I'm going on another long trip. And Scott, you want to say a few words on that, please?
Yes, sir. So the entire relationship stems from the great respect that the two leaders have for each other. China did a substantial, unprovoked escalation last week. We were unable to get in touch with them. Since then, it's been IMF World Bank Week. They have had working level people here who there have been meetings. The Vice Premier, who is my counterpart, and I will be speaking this evening at around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then he and I and a delegation will meet in Malaysia probably a week from tomorrow to prepare for the two presidents to meet. So I think that things have de-escalated. We hope that China will.
Yeah, but the reason why China re-escalated is because they was trying to get a better deal before the meeting in Malaysia. Like that was the whole plan, was to, like I said, get other countries to limit their supply or limit what they send the United States in rare earth minerals, thus limiting the amount of products we can make. And that's going to skyrocket the price. And then we were going to have to come to the table and concede if the other countries followed along. But they turned around and snitched on China, sent Trump the letter, and that's why Trump came out with 100% on Chinese imports. Well, because China tried us.
Show the respect that we have shown them.
Well, they tried everybody.
And I am confident that President Trump, because of his relationship with President Xi, will be able to get things back on a good course.
Is the hope for that meeting with you and President Xi some kind of trade deal then, or
could be? Look, I think
small
we're in a very strong position. We're getting, as you know, as of November 1st, I could move it up if I wanted, a 100% tariff over and above what we get now. So that would make it about 157.
And shout out S.E.T. He said in this meeting, Trump showed again he knows nothing about the war. He said Russia could have taken Kiev if they used the highway when they invaded. They did, and the highway became a killing field. And, well, dang. But you do have a point. I mean, you do have a point. But the problem is, I mean, one of the main reasons why they're still going is because of our support. I mean, we sent them weapons, money, and then let's be real. At the beginning of it, they had full force, and of course, always being the invading force is always going to be the. I'm gonna be real with you, the side that loses more people. I mean, look how Vietnam worked out for us. It always does seem when you fight people on their land, they always have the advantage, and that's like I guess a no shit type of thing. Well, that's kind of like no shit. Like, come on now, we all know that. But nah, shout out to my man S.E.T. Appreciate that. I somewhat disagree with you though on the whole. Oh well, it's all about the highway. I'm like, that a little bit, but it also does have something to do with American support.
1%, and China doesn't want that, and they want to talk, and we're talking, and I think we'll make a deal that will be good for both. I think we will do something, but you have to understand, we never got anything from China. It was a one-way street. For many years, for decades, it was a one-way street, and they became rich because of the United States. And frankly, presidents that, let's be nice, they didn't know. They just didn't know. They didn't understand what was happening to them. But I understood it. I understood it long before I ran for politics. I used to watch in amazement at how stupid our country was, how stupid they were. And we're not stupid anymore. And that includes with the European Union, that includes with Japan and South Korea. All we want to do is be treated fairly. But the fairly is hundreds of billions and even trillions of dollars coming into the United States. And it's our national security is secure because of tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, we would have no national security. So it's very important.
Will you seek China's help in ending the war in Ukraine? Do you need them to put pressure on Russia?
I'll be discussing that, but I'd love to see it ended before that.
President
I mean, I think we have a chance of ending the war quickly if flexibility is shown on behalf. And again, we're not losing people. The United States is not. We're not losing people. We're not spending money. We're getting paid for the, ammunition and missiles and everything else that we're sending to the European Union, but to NATO. But it's very similar. If you look at the countries, I mean, it's very similar. And we just made a very fair trade deal with the European Union, and what we wanted, and we made a very good deal with NATO too. They pay for all of this. That's not what we're in this for. We're in it to save thousands of lives every week. Thousands and thousands of lives.
And let's be real. Trump did get a pretty good trade deal with the EU. I mean, it does seem like all of his trade deal works out in our favor, where there's tariffs on, their imports, or they got to pay to get into our economy, but we can get into their economy scot-free. And they're also opening up their agriculture and their auto industry to us. So, markets. So, hey, fair is fair. I mean, things are finally starting to balance out in the trade world.
That's why we're in it. And I think we have a very good chance of bringing this war to a conclusion.
Peace president and your cabinet has done honestly an excellent job. I think that a lot of people could agree to that.
Thank you.
I'm speaking as someone who lost my father in a war, so I know the human cost. What would your advice be to American leaders, to world leaders, to neocons, to TV hosts who often speak about conflict in abstract or strategic terms rather than the human cost and the human terms?
Look, my only statement is we have to get together. It's a very small group of people. It's the president, and the president. Okay, 3 presidents. And I'm the mediator president. And I'm mediating not an easy situation. It should be easy, but it's a lot easier when people understand each other, when they get together, and when they like each other. We don't necessarily have that situation as far as like is concerned. Maybe it can turn around. Maybe it can. But in the meantime, we'll have them keep a little bit of distance, and we're going to see if we can get it done. This is number 9, okay? This will be number 9 for me. I've solved 8, including the Middle East. I've solved 8. This, I thought, would have been among the easiest. We solved, President Putin mentioned yesterday Armenia, all of the different wars. He said it was amazing but the big one that he was surprised that we were able to settle was the Middle East. He thought it was incredible. He was very generous in that sense. This should be something we're able to settle, and I think we will be able to settle.
Right. On that note, you will go down as the peacemaker, no doubt, and you will resolve this war.
Well, we resolved 8 others. It's funny how people say that. If you get this one, every time I do one, they forget about that one. I solved 8 wars. Go to Rwanda and the Congo, talk about India and Pakistan, look at Thailand, look at all of the wars that we solved. And every time I solve one, they say, if you solve the next one, you're going to get the Nobel Prize. I didn't get a Nobel Prize. Somebody got it who's a very nice woman, very nice. I don't know who she is, but she was very generous. So I don't care about all that stuff. I just care about saving lives. But this will be number 9. But every time I solve one, they said, sir, if you solve one more, you're going to be known as a peacekeeper. So to the best of my knowledge, we've never had a president that solved one war. Not one war. Bush started a war.
Yeah.
A lot of them start wars, but they don't solve the wars. They don't settle them.
Yeah,
and especially when they have nothing to do with us. I guess just about all of these wars had nothing to do with us. But I saved tens of millions.
Oh, and shout out to my man Sid. He's like, let's do a No Kings recap panel tomorrow. Yeah, low-key. Why not? Why not? Because we might as well, let's see all the reactions to the No Kings rally. Let's see how each city did their No Kings rally. Because let's be real, all of us are going to be different. Like what we do over here in Columbus or in Ohio is going to be way different what they do on the West Side and LA and all that good stuff. I mean, and let's be real, we don't got that much. I mean, we're a red state. You guys got to remember this. We're a red state. So we're not going to have huge crowds of people just coming out. But I mean, over there in the blue states, for sure. You know what? And I might be wrong. Maybe in the blue cities, I might be underestimating it. I might be, but we'll see. Because I'm going to go check it out for myself.
of lives. The Prime Minister of Pakistan said, I saved millions of lives in interceding on Pakistan, and you look at Pakistan and India as an example. That would have been a bad one, two nuclear nations, right? So I say this, this is pretty much the last one, although I do understand that Pakistan attacked, or there is an attack going on with Afghanistan. That's an easy one for me to solve if I have to solve it. In the meantime, I have to run the USA, but I love solving wars. You know why? I like stopping people from being killed, and I've saved millions and millions of lives, and I think we're going to have success with this war. Wait, please.
This, President Zelensky, this is your third time over here. And by the way, you look excellent.
Thank you, sir.
Counted.
For you, by the way. This is your third time here. How different sitting across from the president is this time versus the two previous times here at the White House? And how confident are you hearing the success rate of solving these prior wars that he can get this war solved?
First of all, about suit. The same suit because the same president. It's very simple. The next president will have another suit. Yes, about our relations with President Trump, I think we have important dialogues, and I think we begin to understand each other. Yes, and I know that President is briefed very well about situation in the battlefield, and he knows a lot what's going on in the battlefield in Ukraine, and I think it really helps when you know a lot of things, a lot of details about one or another war. It helps a lot, but we are still in war, and I hope we can manage. I think it's
there are some
important.
countries that are not meeting their commitment. You pointed out Spain. They said that it's impossible.
No, Spain has not come through. No, Spain has not been loyal to NATO.
No.
Spain has been, they're the only
Look,
one.
Spain is going through their own economic problems. Like, they can't even afford to increase their military spending. So, I mean, that's just too bad for them. But guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video. Appreciate the support, by the way. But let's not forget to double tap that screen.
Everyone went up to, as you know, I mean, you were at 2% and they all went up to 5%, but Spain disagreed with that. I think Spain should be reprimanded for that. I think it's very bad that they did that, but that's up to them. That's up to NATO and Spain.
They cannot be expelled from NATO.
Can they or not?
They cannot, according to the treaty, but they also claim that they are protected by the European Union umbrella for trade.
Well, the other people, many of the other countries are in the European Union too. They're not complaining, right?
Yep.
That's of interest.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you think you can carry the momentum from the Middle East deal over to this deal? And if
I do.
So, how does that move the needle?
Yeah, I do. I think we carry a lot of momentum, a lot of credibility. Getting Middle East done was very important. Nobody thought it could be done. That was one nobody thought could be done, and we got it done. And a lot of that was the big hit that we put on Iran with respect to the nuclear. They took that was an unbelievable military maneuver, the B-2s, and many other planes involved, by the way, but the B-2s. Yeah, I think nobody expected that to happen, and you know we had 59 countries involved, and these were countries very diverse. You had Arab, Muslim, Jewish. You had every country, Christian. You had every country, many countries involved, and we got that done. And
yeah, I mean, Israelis was celebrating the hostage the hostage transfer. I mean, of course, people in Gaza was celebrating it. Of course, everybody was celebrating it. Well, maybe except for the left. I mean, there were certain people on the left that did champion it, but then there was people also on the left that was just trying to poke holes in it for, well, I don't know, for hater reasons. I'm just saying hating reasons. Why? Because, like, can't you just be happy that people are seeing their family members again? Can't y'all just be happy instead of just going like, well, who knows if Hamas will demilitarize? I mean, we got phase 1 done. Why can't y'all be positive about that? But, hey, I understand the concern, so I ain't really too upset about it. Shout out Sid, he said, the reality is most NATO country, including the U.S., will never reach 5% spending. Spain was just honest about it. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, bro. Most of them, you think most NATO countries can't afford 5%? I don't know. They might have to cut back some of their, universal health care, but they can afford it. They can afford it. Come on now. They got money, Sid, man. Don't doubt their pockets.
We got it done pretty swiftly after we set the table properly. We had to set the table properly. This should be one that we get done. And I think the table is set properly here now, too. And it'll be a great honor. It'll be a great honor to get it done. And the Ukrainian people are great, and the Russian people are great. And obviously they have much in common, as we understand. They have a lot in common. So it'll be a great honor to get it done.
On Venezuela, there are survivors from your latest boat strike. What happens to those survivors?
Well, I'll ask Marco to discuss that possibly.
Yeah, it's well known there's an ongoing narco-terrorist operation the United States has been conducting. As far as details of any recent strikes, we're not prepared here to announce all those details, but you'll get that information here very shortly.
And how are there survivors when these are meant to be lethal attacks?
Yeah, again, I mean, we're undertaking these operations against narco-terrorists. That's what these are. These are terrorists. Let's be clear.
I don't know, Sid. I think they're going to do it. I believe that the NATO countries, you know what, maybe not all of them have the capability to do it, but those who can will do so. I mean, shoot, like Finland and Germany. I mean, the more richer NATO countries, the more wealthier ones are going to go ahead and do it. So I can somewhat agree that not all of them can afford to do it, because if they could, they would, but they can't. So you're right. I'll give you that one. But those who can will. It's not like everybody. It's not like, the richer ones are just kind of like holding out, because it kind of looks stupid too, because everybody knows, what's in their, I would say, what's in their wallet.
And but as far as the details of any recent operations, when we are prepared to announce those, we will, as the president has consistently done. So you may get something on that later today.
Let me ask you, that was in a submarine, right? We attacked a submarine, and that was a drug-carrying submarine built specifically for the transportation of massive amounts of drugs. Just so you understand, this was not an innocent group of people. I don't know too many people that have submarines, and that was an attack on a drug-carrying, loaded-up submarine. Yeah.
On Putin, is it your belief, as Mr. Zelenskyy said yesterday, that the threat of tomahawks and costs, as Secretary Hicks put it, is that bringing him to the table, the fact that it's kind of a carrot and a stick?
I don't know what's bringing him to. I think he wants to make a deal. That's all. I can't tell you what's bringing him. Sure, that's the threat of that is good, but the threat of that is always there. Tomahawks are very dangerous weapons. They're incredible weapons. If you like warfare, it's one of the most accurate. We hit 30 Tomahawks in Iran after the B-2s did their damage. We sort of gave it a little capper with 30 Tomahawks from a submarine, quite far away actually. But they're an amazing weapon. They're a very powerful weapon, but they're a very dangerous weapon, and it could mean big, escalation. It could mean
well, at least he admitted
bad
it.
things can happen.
I mean, at least he admitted it, because he's like, if you guys if Ukraine start throwing Tomahawk missiles, who's to say Russia's not going to start throwing missiles as well, and more high-tech missiles? And they probably got more missiles than Ukraine, or more missiles than we can streamline to Ukraine. So, hey, I mean, it's either these guys concede and they're like, all right, this is going to be too much damage with the missile warfare, or they're going to double down and be like, all right, you guys want to throw Tomahawks? Great. We'll just start throwing a whole bunch of hypersonic missiles and all that wild stuff. So we'll see how this works out, because even Trump's admitting that, this could settle things down or this could escalate things. And I agree.
Tomahawks are a big deal. But one thing I have to say, we want Tomahawks also. We don't want to be giving away things that we need to protect our country. We have a very strong country right now. We have a strong military. We have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest weapons in the world. I want to get this war over. Okay.
Putin-Trump tunnel to connect Russia and Alaska. Are you interested?
I just heard about it. A tunnel from Russia to Alaska. I just heard about that one. That's an interesting one. We'll have to think about that. I hadn't heard that. We just did a nice road in Alaska that's going to get us to a lot of minerals, and we have a piece of it, a good piece of the ownership because of the fact we made it possible. But this came up yesterday, a tunnel from Russia to Alaska. That's an interesting. What do you think of that, Mr. President? Do you have any ideas? How do you like that idea?
I'm not happy with this.
I don't think you're going to like it. I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked it.
President Trump, do you think that Vladimir Putin, do you think that Putin's your gut instinct?
Well, we had a senator that wanted, remember, from Hawaii, she wanted a tunnel from the mainland to Hawaii. And she said, well, we can't do that, so we're going to build a railroad to Hawaii. Do you remember? She's a current sitting senator, a Democrat. She wants a railroad to go to Hawaii, right? You know who that is, right? She's another. She's another beauty. Yeah, please.
On your meeting with Putin, aren't you concerned that maybe the Russian president is trying to buy himself more time?
Yeah, I am. But you know, I've been played all my life by the best of them, and I came out really well. So it's possible. Yeah, a little time.
Is your gut
It's
instinct
all right. But I think that I'm pretty good at.
Well, Russia's losing funding, sadly. Well, actually, not sadly, but thank God. I mean, thank God they're losing funding because India's pulling out from buying oil. China's pulling out from buying rare earth minerals. So they are losing revenue like by the week. And it's mainly because they're seeing Russia as a risky investment, of course, being involved in a war. And, you know, war's not good for business.
This stuff. I think that he wants to make a deal. I made 8 of them. I'm going to make a 9th. I think he wants to make a deal.
Do you consider Russia to be a paper tiger? Do you think, judging by the state of its economy,
Well, I think that he should have won the war in a week. Yeah, I do think. And if we didn't give the anti-tank missiles, as you know, the javelins they call them, they got stuck in the mud. They would have been in Kiev very quickly. They were heading to Kiev. So, you know, in war you have a lot of luck too. You know, weather has won war, and the cold and the heat and all things take place in war. But that was a very interesting moment when the tanks started rolling and some brilliant general said, let's go through the mud instead of going down the highway, right? So they got a little bit lucky. But you know where they really got lucky? I gave javelins. That wasn't given by Barack Hussein Obama. He gave them sheets. You know, there's a statement. Obama gave them sheets and I gave them the javelins. And the javelins are a devastating weapon. And that wasn't given by Obama. That was given by, because at the time it was Obama. That was given by me. So it was like one of those things. And you had hundreds of them. They're a devastating weapon. We have a lot of devastating weapons. I'd rather not use them. But that was a big moment. You know, when the tanks got stuck, they got stuck. And call it luck or call it talent. I'm not sure what you'd call it, but it was a big moment in time.
Do you think Democrats will give you credit? Do you think Democrats will give you credit when you finally end this war, like they did with the war in the Middle East? And
I think right now the Democrats are really damaged, mentally damaged. They want to take 1.5 trillion with a T, $1 trillion and give it to people that invaded our country. They came into our country illegally from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members. They want to give them health care and take it away from our citizens. We're not going to do that. $1.5 trillion they want to destroy.
I mean, look, they're not going to use the entire 1.5 trillion for illegals. I mean, don't get it twisted now. What Trump is really saying is that, yeah, they would turn on the ability for illegals to get, well, state-funded health care. And then it also would pretty much reverse the cuts of the big, beautiful bill, and which would lead to, I'll be real with you, inflated spending. And I'm be honest with you, it's an over bloated budget. Like, we don't need that much money in Medicaid to be taken advantage of. Like, we get overpriced by healthcare companies, and it's because we have too much money in our system or too much money in healthcare. I mean, look at other countries and what they do. They don't spend this much in healthcare, and they're able to bring healthcare to all their people because they negotiate and they don't overinflate their healthcare budget so it can be taken advantage of. And of course, they're not out here letting, a whole lot of illegals into their countries and letting them, run up on the healthcare system. Well, actually, never mind. They kind of are. Of course, especially in European countries.
The They want to destroy our healthcare system. We're not going to let that happen.
Have you authorized CIA operations in Venezuela as part of
Well, I wouldn't say that, but some interesting things are happening around the world, I'll say that.
Mr. President, it has been reported that Maduro offered everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What should we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. Let's go.
All right, let's go ahead and get over to the left side of media and let's see what they're talking about. Let's start off with CNN. Of course, talking about the No Kings rally. So this should be entertaining. All right, guys, let's get right into it. And shout out to my man Sid. He says, good night, everyone. Have fun at the No King rallies. Why not? All right, have a good one, Sid. And wait, how did I debunk my dog? The only thing I went back on was that Europe doesn't have a immigration problem when they do. That's the only thing I went back on. There was nothing that was debunked about my statement of the abuse of our healthcare system.
Depending on who you ask, it is the eve of freedom or the eve of terror. Just hours from now, thousands upon thousands will gather in the streets for the nationwide No Kings protests. Organizers say that they're speaking out against Donald Trump and his abuse of power. Republicans are framing it quite differently.
We're going to bring together the Marxists, the socialists, the Antifa advocates, the anarchists, and the pro-Hamas wing of the far-left Democrat Party. That is the modern Democratic Party. That's where they've gone. And the Hate America rally is the common theme among all those groups.
Now, these protests come at an interesting time. The government is still shut down, 3 weeks now. Both sides aren't even talking, and now top Democrats are going after Caroline Leavitt for some extreme accusations that she leveled against the party's base.
The Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to. They don't stand for anything except for catering to their far-left base, which, as I said, includes anti-Semites, includes Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals who they want to let off freely to roam in American streets.
Caroline Leavitt is a complete and total disgrace. She continues to embarrass herself. It gets worse every time she opens her mouth. She's lying about something. And of course she's lying about...
I thought Dems respected women. What is this man doing attacking a female? Like, come on, Jeffries, you can do better than that. Just stick to the guys, bro. Just stick to attacking, I don't know, Mike Johnson or something.
The patriotic Americans who are going to exercise their First Amendment rights to petition the government and express themselves and gather in a peaceful assembly.
Now, Ashley, I don't know why Republicans are so exercised about this protest tomorrow compared to the last time that it was happening. But could it be the sense that there is more momentum this time around than there was the last time? I mean, what's your sense of how much energy there is and how many people we might see tomorrow?
I think there's going to be millions of Americans and people protesting tomorrow to protect our democracy. I think that the reason why Republicans are paying attention now is because the last time the No Kings protest took place, it was on Donald Trump's birthday, and he thought millions of people were going to show up for that, and they didn't, and instead they showed up for protests.
No, the reason why we were tuning into the Snow King rally, one, because a lot of people showed up. Two, it was like a content gold mine. So a lot of content creators pulled up and it kind of exposed how little these people at the No Kings rally know. So, hey, it's honestly another gold mine for a lot of people to come up and expose the left again. That's really what it's all about. I mean, nobody's really afraid of a bunch of guys who spend like I said, 2 to 3 days in arts and craft to protest a man that, or to yell a man's name that they hate. So I don't know, guys. We'll see. We'll see. But to be quite honest, nobody's afraid of the No Kings rally. You guys aren't about to storm like the White House. You know, you guys aren't doing that. So we really don't know what you guys want, because you said y'all want no kings, but Donald Trump is still president. You won't storm the White House. I don't recommend that you do. I'm just saying, though. I mean, I thought it was about no kings. I thought we was in a dictatorship. It doesn't sound like you guys are serious.
That day. And so now he's like, maybe I'm not as popular as I think. But for Republicans, what I would argue is that you should want millions of people to go out into the streets. You should want millions of people to be able to peacefully protest. Because that is the perfect counterpoint you can say to me when I say I think our democracy is under attack with authoritarian regimes. What you shouldn't do is call us Marxists or socialists, or you can be whatever you want in America. That's the beauty of a democracy. And I swear, I really do. I thought a couple weeks ago we said we were going to take the temperature down. Protesting peacefully in the street is taking the temperature down.
I mean, did y'all take the temperature down on y'all rhetoric about ICE? No, y'all did it. I mean, did y'all? I mean, especially that Democratic AG in Virginia who was talking about unaliving, what was it? His opponent's kids, a Republican. What was it? I think it was like a Republican chairman's kids. Like, and I forgot his name. It was some light-skinned guy in Virginia. He's running for AG, and he was literally texting about killing like a Republican's kids and wife, and then hoping that he can see them die in his hands. It was actually pretty gruesome. So have y'all turned down the rhetoric? Have y'all condemned that man outright? Because honestly, there's a lot of guys who actually came out and did not condemn him and said they're still gonna run him for AG. So did y'all turn down y'all rhetoric in any way, shape, or form? Did y'all condemn political violence at all? Because y'all had y'all chance and y'all have not done it yet.
People, Hamas sympathizers, socialists, all the other terrible things they've said, that is not what that does.
Yeah, whatever happened to that, Lance?
Who are the sponsors
The idea, whatever happened to the fact that they, I mean, literally just a few weeks ago, the idea was, let's take the temperature down. Let's not call each other these things that make this seem like some kind of existential struggle. What happened to that?
Who are the sponsors of this event tomorrow?
Hold on. Y'all could not be crying about name calling when you guys are still doing it. It's like literally crying. Look, how can y'all call us fascists, maggots, and all this wild stuff, and then cry when we start calling y'all Marxist socialists and start calling y'all who y'all really are? It's like, bro, we're not even really calling y'all nothing derogatory. We're just explaining y'all. We're just calling you out about your ideology. That's it.
Indivisible.
But then y'all crying about that. It's like, whoa, so we can't say nothing about you guys? Like, and y'all call us snowflakes?
The leading.
And here's the thing. Some of these guys own up to being Marxists and socialists. So what are you talking about?
Defund the police organization in this country. Jewish voice.
Indivisible is not the leading defund of police. That is like
100%
factually incorrect.
They were for years to defund the police.
No, they weren't. That's
Jewish
wrong.
Voice
Check
for
your
Peace
source.
is a Hamas sympathetic group. They pal around with Students for Justice for Palestine, another Hamas funded organization.
They're not the lead
These are the organizations. George Soros funded organizations. They're the most radical left-wing groups that are sponsoring.
Are you arguing that those organizations are single-handedly going to bring millions of people in the streets? We're talking 2,500 different plans and events for protests. I mean, is that the argument here? And the second part of the argument, my question to you is,
honestly, and let's be real, we kind of see the No Kings protest as like a sore loser protest. Like y'all literally out there in the streets crying because your candidate didn't win. You're calling Donald Trump a king, even though he's not. Why? Because your candidate didn't win. So the No Kings rally is really just a left way of getting it out. And let them get it out. Look, they're Saudi. They want to protest in the streets and cry about it. That's why nobody's really concerned, because it's just like a sore loser protest.
are you arguing that if groups are funding protests that they shouldn't be allowed to happen?
100. Anybody can go protest. No, absolutely not. Anybody can go protest what they want. But you played clips of members of Congress talking about this event. I think it is worth noting who is sponsoring this event. Defund the police type people, Hamas sympathizers. That's what these groups stand for.
And not to mention the Communist Party of, it's on the poster here in New York City.
Thank you.
I mean, you've got boomer cranks. They've been protesting every day. Cranky commies, Antifa people. I mean, what they're saying is true. A lot of the people with these sympathies are going to be at these events. I'm sure there'll be some peaceful protesters there. I hope there's no violence. But given what we've seen in cities around America, it is highly likely we're going to see violent elements.
I would like to say that I want to get to the press secretary's comments about the base of the party. I've voted in every Democratic primary since I was old enough to vote. I'm considered the base of the party. I was a union member. I grew up in a trailer house in East Texas. I went home last weekend, and I took my wife home to East Texas, and I went to a Baptist church where I was saved and baptized. I'm the base of the party. I went to a high school football game where I was an all-state football player. I'm the base of the party. And then I went by the factory that had been shut down because my job was moved overseas. I'm the base of the Democratic Party, not these other folks.
Andy Kim, the senator, compared Speaker Johnson's comments about these protests to what was said about the March on Washington of 1963 by George Wallace. He said, segregationist George Wallace said about the March on Washington, I do think the march under the leadership of men who are in the Communist Party and have been is not good for the country. Citizens being used by communists to disrupt and destroy internal peace. That's the comparison that he's making.
Well, look, I mean, if Democrats want to embrace having the Communist Party here in New York City sponsor this rally, you know, be my guest, respectfully, and I hear what you're saying, but where is the energy in the Democratic Party? You see energy around protecting illegal populations. You see it every day. Energy around criminals, violent criminals. I mean, Democratic officials all over this country have worked very hard to let violent criminals out on the streets. Where is the lie in what is being said by Caroline Leavitt? This is where the energy is on the left.
The energy,
violent, illegal aliens, violent criminals. That's the energy. That's what you see.
Is behind.
Hey, and shout out Luke McLaughlin. And he said, when Jesus comes back, he'll sport a MAGA hat. I mean, hey, shout out. I mean, why not? He's probably gonna look over at the left and was like, man, okay, so mutilating kids, huh? I don't think I can rock with you guys. I mean, there's a lot of things that the left does that's kind of a bit wild. And let's be real, a lot of them are atheists, so they don't really even believe in God. So, and it is kind of funny how they try to use the argument of, oh, do you know that the immigration laws are against the Bible? Like, bro, what? That argument does not make any sense, but okay.
Protecting people's rights. It's behind not having citizens citizens, Americans.
What about illegal aliens being rounded up by
Many
ICE?
Democrats have said we got the immigration issue wrong and we need to fix it. Perhaps maybe in Congress, but we know that won't happen because they aren't even working right now. But people are protesting Americans being zip-tied, being detained without having their rights protected. I'm not saying that is not that is not the Democratic Party saying that let all illegal people or criminals run free. That is not what the Democratic Party is saying.
Those are your
No, they are not.
I mean,
yeah, they are.
Prosecutors and judges all over this country that have.
I mean, come on, man. The best example was the law in Florida where, it wasn't a crime until you stole over $900 in product. It's like, yeah, y'all have policies that promoted crime. I mean, shoot, y'all also promoted policies that got single mothers locked up for children not going to school, or the truancy law, Kamala Harris. So yeah, y'all have terrible policies that hurt the American people, but it is what it is. He's like, Jesus will release the Epstein files. Man, look, Jesus is going to come down with the Epstein files in hand. Okay. That's when we get the Epstein files, when Jesus finally comes back. He's going to come down with it in hand.
Violent criminal after violent criminal out on the streets, and then what do? They commit other violent crimes in city after city after city.
With people exercising their rights to protest. I really want to understand. I mean, there are going to be millions of people probably out on the streets all over the country. And many of those people are, your neighbors, perhaps some of your friends. They're regular Americans that have constitutional rights, that have voting rights like everybody else. Why is it that there is this idea that guilt by association should be applied to them when they just want to go out and protest against a political administration that they disagree with?
I have no problem with people protesting peacefully. They have every right to do that. I do think it's legitimate.
Why demonize them?
Because I think it's a legitimate political debate about what they're.
I mean, let's be honest. If we was to go out right now, guys, and I mean, let's say Kamala Harris won and we was doing, I don't know, no Queens protest, something wild like that, which I would agree would be like a sore loser thing for us to do. But they would call us fascists. They would call us Nazis. They would literally sit there and say, oh my God, the Third Reich is getting together. So let's not pretend y'all wouldn't do the same thing if we started protesting. And I mean, look what happened with January 6th. I mean, that was just a protest that got out of hand that turned into a riot, and y'all try to call it an insurrection. So let's be real, man. I think both sides are sensitive to protesters, especially the left.
Protesting for.
I mean, look,
like whatever side is protesting is going to get whatever radicalized name that's in the media. And I mean, for y'all, it's socialists and Marxists. For us, is Nazis and authoritarians.
Listen, if every time, I mean, and this does happen on the right, on the left to some extent, Conservatives get mad when Democrats say, oh, you guys are palling around with white supremacists and racists and so on and so forth. Charlottesville, a great example.
Oh, God.
Or
the group chat.
Yeah, the group chat. January 6th, all of that. Everybody painted with the same brush, and you all were opposed and upset about that. Why are you applying then that same thing in this situation?
Again, if they want to protest peacefully, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, nobody's mad at that.
Perfectly legitimate political debate for Republicans to say, what exactly are they protesting? They are mad that Donald Trump is enforcing federal.
And before y'all mention those group texts, can y'all at least, bring up Jay Jones before y'all mention the group text? Because let's be real, those young Republicans, what they were saying was wild. But guess what? At least they didn't do. They weren't wishing death on people's family members. At least they didn't do that. Sure, racist jokes. All right, whatever. But now, I'd rather racist jokes than somebody threatening my family. I'd rather somebody call me the N-word with the hard R and all that good stuff than somebody saying, yeah, bro, I'm going to come after your family members. That's literally what that man did. And I have not heard too many Dems condemn it. Actually, I've heard the man is still running and he has not stepped down. And guess what? The people around him have not asked him to step down. So, Dems, did you guys condemn violence if Jay Jones is still running for AG? Hey, let's use common sense here, guys. And shout out to Tove, Suge. They would have us arrested before we got no out. Exactly. Exactly. Could we even do the same thing with you guys? No. We're actually letting you guys go out there and protest. God forbid a bunch of guys in MAGA hats did this under Kamala Harris. Oh, man, y'all bring out the National Guard. Great. And then y'all would cheer it on because you said, you don't understand. Those are a bunch of Nazis out there.
Law. They are mad that he is lawfully exercising the powers of the presidency. And they are fighting for policies that Republicans fundamentally believe are bad
I
for
do
the
think
country.
they disagree with all of the things.
It's a legit debate.
They disagree. You characterize those things as lawful, and they disagree, and they're expressing their disagreement. But I want to play this from Amy Coney Barrett, the Supreme Court Justice. She's spoken with a New York Times columnist about some of these concerns about President Trump's use of his presidential power. Her answer on the Supreme Court's role in all of this, you might find surprising.
Where it's very easy to imagine from either the left or the right, some present or future president deciding to test the court, Andrew Jackson style, saying, interesting ruling, Justice Barrett, good luck enforcing it. If a president defied the Supreme Court, what would you do?
Well, as you say, the court lacks the power of the purse. We lack the power of the sword. And so we interpret the Constitution, we draw in precedents, we have these questions of structure, and, we make the most with the tools that we have.
I watched that today when we sent it around, and I had not seen it previously. And it's funny that we picked this piece because it was the part that stuck out to me the most, and it kind of shook me. She was like, we ain't in charge of the money. We ain't in charge of having a sword. She used the word sword, and then she was like, I don't know what they could be doing because we just do the Constitution. That's what we do, and kind of just pivoted. And I was like, oh, my God.
Well, all right, guys, let's go ahead and keep it on the left here. Here we go. Shout out to Caitlin. What, Caitlin Collins?
I have new reporting from what happened behind closed doors with President Trump and President Zelenskyy during their hours-long meeting today that ended with the president calling for a ceasefire again and providing no new weapons that Ukraine was seeking. Sources described today's White House meeting as tense, frank, and at times uncomfortable, according to the reporting from me and my colleague Kristen Holmes. After that meeting ended, we saw the president come out and call on Russia and Ukraine to stop the war at its current battle lines.
They should stop the war immediately. You go by the battle line wherever it is, otherwise it's too complicated. You'll never be able to figure it out. You stop at the battle line, and both sides should go home, go to their families, stop the killing, and that should be it. Stop right now at the battle line. I told that to President Zelenskyy. I told it to President Putin.
Zelenskyy tonight said that he agrees when it comes to a ceasefire, as he made clear that Ukraine still wants these long-range missiles that can reach deep into Russia.
I think we have to stop
where we are. And he is right. President is right that we have to stop where we are. This is important, to stop where we are and then to speak.
Because they're losing more land. I mean, by the week, they're losing more land. So, yeah, they do need to stop where they are right now for things to get any worse for them. And like I said, I mean, like, we're still betting on Russia's economy to, fall on its last leg and completely tumble so they can stop the war, or they won't have any financing for war. And then worst case scenario, of course, is that, back against the wall and they do something drastic. Like, I don't know, just a complete missile barrage on Ukraine, or they nuke it or nuke Kiev. And God forbid that happens.
One person who described the president's thinking on that meeting said that both sides need to make a deal and argued that conditions are only going to get worse as winter approaches, and basically said the president's belief here is that Ukraine wants to prolong this war. That is the president's thinking. And if this feels like a big turn from where Trump was, it is, because he's now calling for the battle lines to stay exactly where they are now, after 3 weeks ago declaring that he thought Ukraine could fight and win back all of its territory in its original form with the help of Europe and NATO. This change of heart is after Trump's 8th phone call in 8 months that he's had with Russia's President Vladimir Putin.
I don't know. It's such a delusional idea to think that we can just throw weapon and money at these guys and they're just going to win. Like, that's just a delusional idea, especially against Russia, of all people, who have more people to throw into the front lines, who have more weapons. So it is a bit delusional to think that we can just supply these guys with weapons and money and they're just going to win. It's like, no, they don't have the manpower for it. We can give them all the weapons we want, but when they run out of people, that's it.
And you can't forget, of course, that meeting they had in Alaska that failed to bring the two sides closer to any kind of ceasefire or end of this war. And the reality of the president's new proposal to stop this war is significant. The difference between where these battle lines are now and each country's original borders, about the size of Pennsylvania. More than 3 million people would go from being citizens of Ukraine to Russia.
Damn.
President Trump's new position that both countries should stop where they are marks only the latest in his ever-shifting positions on this war. It's a shift you can track from earlier this afternoon, late this summer, and when he returned to the White House.
A few weeks ago in New York, when you two met, you said that you think Ukraine could ultimately take back all the territory that it's lost so far. Do you still think that's the case, or do you think there'll have to be some sort of
You
swap
never
of
know.
territory?
Look, war is very interesting. You never know, do you? You just never know. With war and peace, but you never know. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine.
You know, Paul, honestly, their weaponry is, they don't have, the best weapons, or I say their weaponry is not far ahead of Russia. And actually, we don't even know if that's all the way true. If their weaponry is about the same or evenly matched, then yeah, it's a numbers game at that point. I mean, Russia got drones too, my man. They got missiles too. Let's not sit there and pretend like these guys don't have weaponry. I mean, it's ridiculous and delusional to think so. Like, just because Trump is giving these guys tomahawks doesn't mean that Russia don't got missiles.
You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people.
He is.
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Joining me tonight is David Remnick, the longtime editor of The New Yorker and host of the New Yorker Radio Hour. And it's so great to have you here, because I just wonder, when you look at what you heard from the president today, compared to what he said 3 weeks ago, what you think has changed the president's mind now?
Well, with this president, so much is personal, so much is improvised that it's very hard to say. I mean, we want to put our very logical lenses on.
Well, I would say dealing with a guy like Putin, it's really hard to pinpoint where he's going. And like I said, the world changes every day. It's only been 2 weeks and they've lost the support of China and India. Who'd have knew? Who'd have knew? I couldn't have predicted that, hey, yeah, China's going to pull out of their economy, and so is India. One of their biggest buyers are pulling out of their economy. Of course, Putin is now trying to come to the table because this man's losing money. And he can really no longer afford to keep carrying on this war, especially when his biggest buyers are leaving, because his economy, and honestly, just investing in Russia is right now a risky investment. They're not even sure if Russia's going to be a country in the next couple of years because of this war. Like, they might have kind of doomed themselves Soviet Union style. It didn't seem like Putin learned from the mistakes of the past of going into war, bankrupting yourself, and now the whole country's disbanded. Like, I guess the man didn't learn his lesson, but we'll see how this works out. All right, guys, let's get to the next video here. Trump says U.S. attacked drug-carrying submarine in Caribbean. Whoa, drug-carrying submarine.
On a U.S. Navy ship, the U.S. is holding two survivors of a U.S. strike. On a U.S. Navy ship, the U.S. is holding two survivors of a U.S. strike on an alleged drug-filled submarine in the Caribbean. This according to President Trump. It would be the sixth known strike, the first that didn't kill everyone on board. In the same week, Trump publicly declared he authorized the CIA to operate inside Venezuela to crack down on drug trafficking and migrants. This afternoon, the president had this colorfully worded message for the Venezuelan strongman leader, Nicolas Maduro.
He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States.
So joining us now is retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton.
I mean, that's a great point. He doesn't. I mean, we kind of just put a whole naval blockage around the Caribbean Sea to make sure no more narcos run off from the airports. And we also got the CIA investigating in low-key, I mean, running covert ops in there most likely. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure the CIA is messing around in Venezuela. So, yeah, he's kind of finding out something very crucial.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
You know, when it comes to effing around with the U.S.
I won't ask you about that language from the president, but I will be asking you about what the United States is doing. The U.S. Navy is deploying about 4,000 more Marines and sailors to patrol waters around Latin America and the Caribbean. Maduro is rolling out a new defense plan.
Oh, and let's not forget, Maduro's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. He boxes. I mean, he ain't afraid to kill nobody. He's a tough guy. You got to talk to these guys like that.
Mobilizing his own military, police, and militias. Could movements like this mean that both countries are preparing for potentially a larger conflict?
Yeah, Bianna, that unfortunately is often historically the case, that when countries mobilize their forces, here we have some Marines getting ready for a training mission, and here we have the Venezuelan National Guard, and they are moving into what looks like a training mission as well. So these are the kinds of things that we have to watch out for, because as troops deploy to areas, we've got about 4,000 U.S. troops in and around Venezuela right now. That could be a telltale sign that they're trying to do something. And once those wheels are set in motion, sometimes it's very hard to stop them.
So let's zoom out for a minute here, because Trump says Venezuela is, quote, feeling heat. Can you explain for our viewers why this focus specifically on Venezuela?
So there's several different factors here, Bianna, but one of them is Tren de Aragua. This is a group that President...
Yeah, the allegation is that, I mean, the Tren de Aragua gang is working inside of the Venezuelan government, and that Maduro is actually a leader, you know, in this terrorist organization, or newly designated terrorist organization. And of course, they do human trafficking, they traffic drugs, money laundering, all that wild stuff that cartels do. And they also work with cartels as well. So, hey, I mean, it makes sense to designate them a terrorist organization, and they're getting treated like one. Because guess what? You don't really, when you're a terrorist organization, you don't need to address Congress about bombing y'all, which a lot of people don't seem to understand.
Trump talks a lot about. They started in Venezuela, but they are in many other places. They also operate here in the United States. One of the things that they do is very clearly and very badly human trafficking. They also do target migrants as part of that human tracking effort. Money laundering is also one of the key elements that they do. And probably most importantly to the U.S. administration is drug smuggling. So that's one aspect of it right there. Then you've got the military aspect. There are many air bases.
And like I said, hopefully the CIA went from helping the drug smugglers to, you know, catching them. Hopefully. Praying, because you never know what these guys in the CIA.
The Venezuelans have, but these are two of the main ones, El Libertador and Lieutenant Teniente Vicente Landeeta Gil Air Force Base. They are in this part of Venezuela, and what they have are F-16s, American-made F-16s, and Russian-made Su-30s. So there is military power in Venezuela, and part of it is, of course, supported by Russia and also by Cuba. The other thing...
Yeah, but the problem is, like, if Venezuela does anything crazy, we will literally wipe out their military capabilities in, like, probably a week. I give it a week. We'll wipe out all their military capabilities, and that's not something that I want for them. because it's definitely possible. If they was to strike us, I mean, it's over for their military. Everybody's done for. I mean, that's why everybody kind of stays off of America. They don't ever want to attack the homeland because America gets pissed off just attacking an ally. You guys can get bombed. So imagine what's going to happen attacking the homeland. I mean, every country knows this. I mean, if a country's ready to attack us on homeland, oh man, they better be prepared.
About Venezuela is they have oil, and one of the key elements of that is what is called the Orinoco Belt. There's several different factors here. Venezuela,
and yeah, it is also about oil as well. Now, Maduro has said that, yo, Trump, you don't got to do this. You can go ahead and, you know, reshore American companies over here and take advantage of the oil. Come on, you trying to get low oil prices, right? Right? And Trump still told him no. He said, no, not really. I want you out of power. I can get cheap oil prices out the Middle East. He's like, we kind of don't need you, but we do need you out of power.
Had a lot of oil in the Maracaibo region off to the west here, but they also have a lot of oil potentially in these parts. Plus, they also have a potential dispute with Guyana in the Essequibo region. Of course.
Yeah, it used to be one of the richest countries in the world, given their oil reserves. I do want to ask you and get your take on the head of the U.S. Southern Command stepping down. This is Admiral Alvin Halsey, who led operations in the Caribbean for only a year. And sources are telling CNN that he and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did not see eye to eye. This is a high-profile resignation during an incredibly tense time, as you've just laid out. How unusual is that?
It is very unusual. Usually when tensions ramp up in a particular theater of, that is a theater of potential conflict, the person in charge of that combatant...
Yeah, shout out Tove. They need to watch Pearl Harbor, no touchy. Exactly, because... it's gonna be over. I mean, it's just that's it. The military done for. I mean, honestly, regime change guaranteed.
And in this case, Southern Command would stay on in the job and see things through. But what is clear to me about Admiral Halsey stepping down is that there must be some policy disagreement going on here. And one of the key factors is that these attacks against the little ships that we've seen off the Venezuelan coast, they may not quite fit in with the construct of the laws of war. And that's a key factor and could have resulted in his early retirement.
Could.
All right. Colonel Cedric Layton, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Bianna.
The military commander overseeing U.S. Southern Command and the Pentagon's escalating attacks on alleged drug boats off Venezuela's coast is retiring barely a year into his tenure. One source tells CNN tensions have been simmering for weeks between Admiral Alvin Halsey and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and that Hegseth did not believe the admiral was moving aggressively enough to take on alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean. Today, according to Reuters, relatives of a Trinidadian man believed killed in the U.S. military strike on a boat in the Caribbean this week are demanding the U.S. provide evidence to back up President Trump's claim that those who died were trafficking drugs.
I mean, they're on a boat full of drugs in the middle of the sea. So what do you think? And let's be real, like a lot of people don't understand that the CIA has been operating in Venezuela for a while. So you don't think that they already have the intelligence on these boats that's leaving Venezuela that the CIA has now been exposed for operating in? Like for a while now, the CIA has been operating in Venezuela for a while, probably like 6 months now. You don't think they was setting this up? Like, you don't think that we can't tell you guys, or they won't tell you because it's a CIA operation that falls under classified every time?
NATO Supreme Allied Commander Admiral James Stavridis joins us now. He served.
It's like, shoot, we can show you the results, but we cannot show you the process because it's being ran by the CIA. And honestly, that probably was a smart move by Trump by making the CIA run it, because they don't have to explain how they get their evidence to anybody, not even the news. So like, we just go off the intel and hey, it be damned. Like, whatever you got to say about it, it is what it is.
Himself as a commander of U.S. Southcom. He is also a partner at Carlyle Group and International.
Now, does that mean I agree with it? No, but it is a very smart way he ran it by using the CIA.
Investment firm, and he serves on the board of advisors for a handful of defense-related companies. Thank you so much for being with us, Admiral. First off, just put this into context for us. How unusual is this, and why would a commander of Southcom retire well ahead of schedule in the midst of a controversial offensive of questionable legality?
It's very unusual. The last one I can think about was just under 20 years ago. That was Admiral Fox Fallon at U.S. Central Command. he had policy disagreements with the administration at the time about how to approach Iran. But for a combatant commander, normally he or she would be in the job 3 years minimum.
Yeah, but in my honest and well, the way I'm analyzing it, it does seem like we're not going to get too much on the exact call out of, oh no, these are definitely drug trafficking boats, because it's the CIA handing out this information. So hey, CIA hands it to the military and they bomb the boats that leave the Venezuelan ports. It is what it is, or shores. So yeah, and even this guy or the guy who came on before, he wasn't saying that, oh, they don't know. It's saying that there's been no information really given to them. And like I said, there's been no information given to them because it does seem like the intelligence is being ran by the CIA, who's been operating in Venezuela for a while. Now, like I said, I'm not 100% sure. I'm just kind of just reading the room, or just kind of seeing how the chessboard looks. And it's looking like that's the move. And it's a pretty smart move, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they could carry off these strikes because they're terrorists, and also they don't really got to tell you how they got the information. If it's the CIA running the operation, it kind of is. Hey, I mean, it's a pretty slick move, to be quite honest.
Mr. Bolton, how are you feeling?
But all right, former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton pleads not guilty in classified documents case.
Mr. Bolton, how are you feeling?
Hey, Mr. Bolton, Mike Pence could be a snare to conspiracy to destroy the country. Where's Abby Willows? What are you doing, sir? Feeling pretty good?
Hey, shout out to my man Fox Chase. How you doing, bro? He said, fuck Obama for creating everything we're in. That's all I got for now. And shout out. Well, especially those problems in the Middle East. And, well, you know, the Affordable Health Care Act. I mean, Obamacare was a complete fail. But, you know, the Dems will never admit that. They're just holding on to a failing plan.
That was former National Security Advisor John Bolton leaving federal court this morning without answering questions from reporters, as you saw right there. He pleaded not guilty to 18 charges relating to unlawful mishandling of classified information. The Trump advisor turned adversary's arraignment lasted less than 20 minutes, and the judge told Bolton that he faces up to 10 years in prison if he's convicted. My panel is here in the arena. National political reporter from Axios, Alex Thompson, CNN political director and Washington bureau chief David Chalian, CNN global affairs commentator Sabrina Singh, and Republican strategist Shermichael Singleton. And we are also joined by CNN senior justice correspondent Evan Perez. All right, Evan, you were inside that courtroom today for the arraignment. Bring us inside.
Yeah, Pamela, John Bolton was very subdued. You know, we used to seeing him here in the green room, and obviously he's always very friendly to reporters. I tried to talk to him when he got to the courthouse, and he was all business. And obviously these are very serious charges that he's facing, and you mentioned the amount of time that he could receive if he is convicted of all these 18 counts. And he was very respectful to the judge, obviously, in responding, yes, sir, yes, I do. But one of the interesting things about this case is the political aspect of this, obviously. And you've heard, obviously, from Bolton's attorneys and from him his own statement yesterday, that he believes he's being targeted selectively by the Trump administration because of his criticism of the president. And there is something that I think a lot of us, really noticed in this indictment yesterday. There was a reference begins on page 19 of the 26-page indictment, where prosecutors mentioned that Bolton himself in media interviews criticize Pete Hegseth and other national security officials in the Trump administration for their use of signal to discuss an ongoing military operation in Yemen. And they use that essentially to show that Bolton himself was aware of the implications of using an unsecure platform to discuss very sensitive information. But one of the things about that is it's interesting. It was almost like it was not a necessary thing for prosecutors to include in this indictment. But it is not the last time we're likely to hear about this, because we know that the defense wants to make this issue, the issue of selective prosecution, part of their defense. And
Very
I
smart
suspect that
defense.
this Signalgate controversy is going to become part of the talking points going forward. This is a case that's not going to try for some time because of the national security information that is involved in the case. Pamela.
So you're saying that basically the defense would then argue, look at this, you're making your own case how this is selective prosecution because you're acknowledging that classified information was mishandled in this other way, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know prosecutors at DOJ, we know FBI officials inside the FBI have been very concerned that they've not been asked or allowed to investigate the Signalgate issue because they know that there were national security information that was being shared on an insecure manner. As a matter of fact, the reference in the indictment says...
Well, actually, on the Signalgate thing, the problem is that Pete Hegseth honestly has full say on military information that's classified and unclassified. He has complete authority over it. So as soon as that was leaked, let's be real, as soon as he said it in that text, he deemed it as unclassified information. So he kind of protected himself on the back end. And it's kind of crazy how they try to bring in Tulsi Gabbard and Ratcliffe about it when the main person they need to bring in was the Secretary of Defense. Like I said, if you're worried about being targeted by Trump, well, yeah, if you're worried about being targeted by Trump, wouldn't you make sure you're not committing crimes? Literally. I mean, to be quite honest. And then let's be real. If you didn't want to be targeted by Trump, was it a good idea to like literally bring down the entire DOJ on this man? Like, don't you think like, and then here's the thing, you guys didn't lock him up. You didn't lock him up. He went to appeals court. He got a lot of these felonies dropped. And now you guys are out here looking stupid. Oh, and even worse, he became president. He's president now. So now it's even worse for you guys. You guys did all that, still couldn't lock him up, try to assassinate him, possibly, might have been the Dems, possibly. That didn't work out. And now here we are. Now here we are with Trump as your president and you guys gaining really nothing. But hey, justice will be served. And then let's be real. You can't sit here and complain about it because for 4 years, everybody sat down and shut up. But now you guys want to speak out against it? I don't know, man. That just don't seem right.
In an interview, Bolton discussed the damage to national security by using a non-governmental communication channel. That is the words of prosecutors from the American.
So really, he pulled a. So pretty much, it's like you're saying that, yo, he pretty much did what Hegseth did or what Hegseth allegedly did. And let's be real, John Bolton, he was a national security advisor. He wasn't the Secretary of Defense. So, yeah, he had no right to leak out that military information because, let's be real, the Secretary of Defense, he can leak it out and say, oh, yeah, it's unclassified. It is what it is. Now, if the Secretary of Defense had that as classified at that moment and John Bolton exposed that in a text, he would be guilty. So you can try to sit there and compare it to Hegseth, but different titles. And, I mean, he has different authorizations. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. Hegseth actually can do it. John Bolton couldn't.
Maryland U.S. Attorney's Office in that indictment against Bolton.
We'll see how the defense uses that against their own case. Evan Perez, thank you so much.
Sure.
Let's bring in my panel now to discuss. Actually, I want to start with you, Sabrina, to get your thoughts on that tactic, the prosecutors, including the Signalgate, as a way to show, oh, John Bolton knew everything, about how to manage classified information. But also, it kind of gives an opening to defense to say he's being selectively prosecuted.
I think it's interesting that they brought in Signalgate and John Bolton, and is someone that worked in the national security space. We all know clearly, like when you put classified information, especially about a detailed operation that Pete Hegseth did in that Signalgate chat, John Bolton rightfully called it out, but now you're seeing it sort of backfire on him in this case because he knows how to handle classified information. And this is clearly a credible case. It was brought by a career prosecutor. So now it's in the hands of the justice system. But I think what's important here, too, is
even she's admitting that, yo, this is a career prosecutor that's going after him. And they usually don't pick up BS. So, and like I said, he was a national security advisor. He wasn't the Secretary of Defense. So he had no right to leak any military information because, let's be honest, if the Secretary of Defense didn't deem that as unclassified information, then yeah, he did break the law. Unlike Hegseth, who is the Secretary of Defense, who can say, yeah, I unclassified that information. So guess what? You can't charge him Hegseth on it because he's the Secretary of Defense and he can decide if it's unclassified or classified military intel. John Bolton did not have that authority.
The justice system or the DOJ has not been able to investigate Pete Hegseth. So there's a different sort of justice for friends of Donald Trump and his so-called enemies. And that's what I think John Bolton is trying to tease out here, is that I'm being unfairly, targeted.
Nope.
Which I don't know if that's necessarily the case.
Nah, you did something that John Bolton did something that he did not have the authority to do as the national security advisor.
This was a case that started under the Biden administration, but Pete Hegseth has not faced any consequences either.
It started 2021. It's interesting, though, Sir Michael, because the Wall Street Journal's editorial board released this op-ed this morning saying, quote, there's little doubt that the underlying motivation for this prosecution is retribution.
Yeah, that too.
You can't just look at this.
I mean, it makes sense because John Bolton, I mean, Trump did say he pretty much ruined his South Korea, Korea negotiation. I mean, the problem with John Bolton is he's too much of a freaking like neocon, too much of a war hawk. I mean, he don't want peace with nobody, but he want to bomb everybody.
In a vacuum. You have to look at the other indictments too. You have James Comey, Letitia James. Those, of course, are different cases, and that distinction has been made by our legal analysts. But do you think that those other indictments essentially could weaken this case and the words that Donald Trump has used himself to target John Bolton?
No, I think those two cases are set aside. I see them as being disparate from this case. Again, as you noted, this began under the previous administration. Now, look, it's fair for Bolton to make the case that, hey, I'm not being protected like the Secretary of Defense because I'm not a friend or a supporter of the president. Okay, I'll entertain that. But that's an odious comparison in my opinion. He broke the law. John Bolton has been in politics for, 40 years? I'm 35.
Yeah, he broke the law. And I mean, he can try to compare himself to Hegseth, but I mean, you can easily dismiss that argument with, yeah, he's the Secretary of Defense. He can literally, when he typed that, he can literally make the order and say, yeah, unclassified military intel and send it in that group chat. And then it happened 2 hours later. So it was already a go. Actually, I believe when he texted it already happened. So, and he deemed it as unclassified military intel. John Bolton did not have that authority. He was only the national security advisor. It's a high position, but not as high as Secretary of Defense, who literally has discernment over what's classified and unclassified military intel. Full discernment.
And I've been alive. There isn't a person who should know
discretion.
Better than most individuals.
Sorry, discretion.
How to handle classified information. I had a top secret clearance when I was briefly in the government. They are very precise and strict on what you can and cannot do. And if I, at 26, I believe, when I got my TS, John Bolton absolutely should have known better if I did at 26 years old. So there is no excuse for this.
All right, I want to listen to the sound from Congressman Jamie Raskin and then talk on the other side.
It seems like retention of classified documents is the go-to charge for people who had once worked for Donald Trump who've fallen out of favor with him. And, apparently there are sloppy practices generally in the government that might affect a lot of people, including Donald Trump himself. So, it's hard to know what to say about this other than there is no way that had Bolton not broken with Donald Trump, he would be facing these charges today.
What do you think, Alex? Do you think that he would be facing these charges if he was still friendly with Trump?
I mean, John Bolton's lawyers are clearly making the argument that Jamie Raskin is, and they're basically saying, that, and they are trying to use the chaos in the U.S.
It's like when you know you're guilty and all you have is, this is politically charged, and they're just gonna hit him with it doesn't matter, you broke the law, bro. But it's politically charged, though. Yeah, well, you probably shouldn't have been breaking the law then. If you knew that Donald Trump might have come back in power, maybe you shouldn't have broken the law. So he could say, oh, this is politically motivated. This is retaliation and all this good stuff, but you broke the law.
Also, in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Virginia, with James Comey and Tish James.
Well, bro, be quite honest, John Bolton.
Going to jail. Lock his ass up. Lock his ass up. You're going to jail. You're going to jail.
That in order to make a sympathetic case in this case, but there are bigger issues. Like you had 2 judges in 2 different jurisdictions approve search warrants for this case. There are some issues, but I think there's also if we zoom out a little bit, retaining classified documents has now been at the center of a lot of very politically fraught cases. Hillary Clinton, the email server.
I mean, that and mortgage fraud. That and mortgage fraud. Classified documents and mortgage fraud has been, I guess, the main offense of these politicians. Main crime these guys are doing.
David, about that. Yeah.
Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago, Joe Biden in his garage, You know, there
Bro,
is
get caught
actually
for
a
it.
larger debate of what is and
Vice
is not
President
classified.
Pence, yeah.
And
And
Vice
Pence, too.
President Pence, too. I got my list right here. I mean, so many just in the last few years, and you have to wonder how that's going to factor in. And David, also, if you take a step back, I mean,
I'm gonna be real with you. The argument that John Bolton is using is almost like, you know, like a black guy like me saying, "Oh man, I'm only in here because the police racist." Like, dog, you were speeding with like 3 pounds in the back. Like, come on, bro. The police is racist and they're retaliating against me, guys. I'm like, but you're guilty, right? Yeah, but the police is retaliating against me because they hate me because I'm black. It's like, bro, come on now. Like, bruh.
Stop it. Get some help.
I remember during the first term when John Bolton went into the White House for his first meeting to talk with Trump about becoming national security advisor. I remember when he then got the job and it was a big deal. And now this term of events, it's really
It was a big deal. It was also a bit of a head scratcher.
It
The
was.
two of
I
them
remember
were
that at the
never,
time.
Like, they never really saw the world the same way. It was
Right.
an odd pick for Donald Trump at the time. You know, so I don't think there was ever a really warm, simpatico relationship between Donald Trump and John Bolton. But obviously, in the last 3 weeks, 2 of these 3 indictments are people that served in government that Donald Trump fired in his first term, right? And so I think we are wise to separate these cases out from a legal perspective, but 2 things can be true at the same time. This can be political retribution and appropriately sort of combined with those other cases, as well as it can and must be, from a legal perspective, separated out that this may be a more substantial case.
And all right, though. Now let's go ahead and get over to the right side of media. I know we've been hanging around on CNN for a while. Let's see what they're saying over here at Fox. And then later on, we're going to expose the funding of, you know, Antifa. They try to say it's not organized, but I beg to differ.
Read English signs and speak English. Pretty obvious. To drive a fully loaded 40-ton semi-truck in the United States, you have to be able to read English signs and speak English.
Shout out. And I mean, shout out to what the Trump was doing on that one, because that honestly opened up the job market for a lot of Americans. I mean, there was even this black guy on what was it? I think it was on X. He was saying, yo, I'm able to get a job in trucking because they start making people being able, you now got to be able to read English. Now they're just not giving it to these immigrants who don't speak no English, who's able to get these jobs over them so they can get paid less. I mean, like I said, bro, immigrants is not about them being better than us. Of course not. It's about them being cheaper.
Pretty obvious, simple, right? But some left-wing states don't think so, and it's starting to cost them big time. The Trump administration pulling $40 million in federal highway funding from California because in California, they're refusing to follow these rules. Now, remember, this is the same state that gave Harjinder Singh his commercial driver's license. Singh is that illegal alien truck driver who recklessly pulled a U-turn on a Florida highway, causing a minivan to crash into it, killing 3 innocent people. But again, California doesn't want to enforce any English proficiency standards. Probably thinks they're racist. Meanwhile, other states have handed out licenses to illegals with, quote, no name given actually listed in the name part of the license.
What?
So what the heck is going on
in New York?
And will those states soon?
Nah, that is what? He said no name given? Ain't no way, bro. There's just no way y'all just let him off like that. They don't even got to give a name, guys. New York State commercial driver license, your CDLs. No name given. Can you imagine reading that as an officer? If you're an officer in the chat, can you imagine reading that and just having to be like, well, like, okay, I guess. Like, you got it, even though it has no name given. It's valid, right?
See the same fate of California. Here to discuss
Oh,
is
that's
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us. Has California made any moves to comply, given what's coming down the pike with the rescission of this funding?
So first off, you asked the question, what's going on, Laura? What's going on is Democrats who worked incredibly hard to open up our borders and let millions of people into this country, now they're working overtime to make sure that they can take jobs away from American citizens and make our roads less safe. That's completely what's happening.
Man, now they can only see, bro. I'm telling you right now, you would see a lot less immigrants working in a lot of places if they held that standard. And I don't know, like factories, construction sites. If they held that same standard, oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, illegals wouldn't come over here unless you speak English. Because they'd be like, well, you can't get a job unless you do speak English, which honestly should be a standard. It should be.
Here. In regard to California, in regard to English only, this is a long-standing rule. It's been on the books for decades. It's just that we are now enforcing the law and saying you have to speak English. You have to be able to read road signs in English. Every state, not all of them are in compliance. All of them have gotten into compliance except California. We gave them 30 days. Gavin Newsom, in essence, gave us a hand gesture that he didn't care. And so we pulled $40 million of funding from his state as a penalty. Hopefully he'll rethink it, get on board, and I'd love to give him the money, but also have him follow the laws and the rules as set by DOT, and again, longstanding rules.
Again, Mr. Secretary, I think most people hear this and they can't actually believe this is the United States of America.
Yeah.
It looks like governors are trying to, I guess, input their own additional language as okay in the United States to be a elected official or to be behind the wheel of a really, can be dangerous vehicle. And they don't really care. And by the way, Newsom was saying, I think just yesterday, maybe today, that, we have to be out there. They have to be out there over the weekend to protest for the No Kings rally because they have to stand up for the rule of law. Mr. Secretary, that's the big push there.
Yeah, exactly. We call.
I mean, shout out to California for trying to cover their ass. But shout out Tove. She says, don't remember the state, but I saw a short video where another illegal made an illegal U-turn on the E-way and almost took out 4 cars. I mean, hey, that's what was happening in Springfield, Ohio. Yeah, with the Haitians that they brought over through the TPS program, and they just dumped them all there in Springfield and try to push them through the the DMV. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. These guys weren't obeying the street laws. They low-key caused a crash of a school bus that killed the kid. And I mean, shout out to the dad, because the dad came out and said, oh, I don't want to make this about race. But I'm like, dog, the only reason your kid is dead is because Biden flooded the town with a whole bunch of illegal Haitians, and not illegal, but TPS status Haitians who did not know how to speak English. And we were having to try to teach them English in the schools, which only strained the teachers. And then, of course, we're pushing them through the DMV without them even having to learn BMV. Sorry, I don't know why I said DMV. BMV, to push them to get a driver's license so they can fulfill their status of the TPS system, which is they have 18 months to become a U.S. citizen. That, of course, means getting a license, Social Security, and all that good stuff.
That the Hate America rally that's coming tomorrow, exactly what it is. But it's also, there's another component of this, Laura, which you mentioned in the intro, which is what's called a non-domiciled CDL. So of the 15 million people that Joe Biden, I don't know if it's 12, 15, 20 million people that they let into the country and gave them all asylum, they can come from a place like Guatemala or somewhere in Eastern Europe, come to California and apply for a license to drive a tractor trailer, to drive a school bus, drive your kids to school, and you have no idea this is happening. What? But California can give them that license as a non-domiciled CDL. And what we've said is, listen, those days are over. We put a stop to it. I put a stop to it on September 26th. I gave them, by the way, they've all complied, even California. They're not issuing these any longer. It's shameful that they're even giving them out, but they've now stopped. But I also told them, you have to go.
It's shameful that it even started. Like, they put so many people in danger, and then they undermined so many American citizens. Like, that's wild. They should literally go to jail for that.
Back and look at the licenses that you gave. Again, are there no names in there? Did you give a license that lasts for 5 years, but the work permit only lasts for 1 year? All issued illegally. Yeah. So they have to go back and do those reviews. If they don't do it, Laura, I'm going to pull another $160 million from California, and the number keeps going up from there. But the question is, why is DOT, why am I actually asking, begging them to follow the law, make sure they protect American jobs and American lives on the road? They should be doing this themselves. But again, as always, they put illegals over the interests of the American citizenry.
Well, just to show our viewers what Newsom is saying in response to this, and we can put up the statement, they said they do follow the English proficiency tests as a condition for receiving a CDL. They said they sent DOT a letter about it. So they said English language proficiency is a requirement. So they're saying they're complying.
Yeah. Right.
I'm sorry, but like, bro.
So Laura, they've given specific direction to their law enforcement officers to not enforce this rule. So if a California State Patrol pulls over a truck and the individual can't speak English, they should put that vehicle out of service, which costs the owner a lot of money to get it back into service. California said, listen, don't worry about that. Send them on their way. Don't even test them to make sure they can speak English when you interact with them. So no, Gavin's not complying. He's thumbing his nose, so the letter means nothing. What's happening on the ground in California is what we'll consider. And again,
AKA, just because you type it on X doesn't mean you guys are actually doing it.
I don't get the rationale around this. Laura, we talk about jobs a lot. I think it's important to underscore the great American companies in trucking that have been in business for maybe 20, 30, 50 years. If you hire good Americans and you follow the law, you're going out of business because you can't compete with this foreign labor that's driving the cost of shipping down, but a family can't make money anymore because you have individuals coming in from some foreign country. They live in their truck and they're killing people. That's right. It's not safe.
I just put it this way. They're killing people on the roads and they're killing American jobs. Both. Mr. Secretary, so great to see you.
I don't know. I ain't gonna try to demonize them like that unintentionally. Like, they're not doing this on purpose, but they're doing this because they don't understand English. They don't understand our road laws, but they're being pushed into these jobs because one, they probably accept less money, or the truck I think the truck business is either owned by an immigrant who just were letting in all the homies and all that good stuff. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, look, it'll be the hiring manager, the manager, everybody there is, let's say, Hispanic, and they'll start running in all the Hispanics or the Arabs, and they start bringing in all the Arabs, regardless of if they speak English.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Wild as hell. It's wild as hell. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get over to the next video. Shout out Laura Ingraham.
Here with reaction, Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno. Senator, you getting ready for that No Kings protest? Getting your mask and your keffiyeh, and you got the whole costume going? Is that?
I mean, shout out Tove, yeah, because Newsom is the pinnacle of truth. It's like literally, as soon as I heard that Newsom said that, like, no, you guys are lying. You know, Newsom ain't doing that. You guys are giving them you guys are letting these guys sign up for a license, no name, and run off into the sunset. And driving a 5-ton, 10-ton vehicle? This is crazy.
Is that what's going to be happening? You expect a big turnout in Ohio? What's going on with your friends on the other side of the aisle?
I think they've lost their mind, Laura. I mean, this is a rally sponsored by George Soros that has the Communist Party of America as the headline organization. I'm young enough to remember when, I didn't think America wanted communists on our public square and didn't want this country to be communist, but there's Chris Murphy and Bernie Sanders. They're going to be the two headline speakers of a rally in Washington, D.C., sponsored by the Communist Party of America. Think about that.
Well, when you think about what President Trump, we already talked about the huge.
Oh, and shout out to my man Bean. Shout out Green Bean for the baller alert. Appreciate the support, brother. He says, nothing positive has come from any of the protests. No kings, more like no progress. Ooh. Oh, shit. Well, I ain't gonna lie, you cooked on that one, my friend. You cooked on that one. Hold on, I gotta give it up to you.
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
Successes and world peace. He continues to march toward peace. But it's so profound what he's trying to do. These are big issues. And a lot of presidents just punted on them or said, oh, we can't, they kind of a half-hearted effort. But he is really trying to get this stuff done. And everything else seems so, it seems like theater. It seems inconsequential, or maybe a bad high school production at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're very petty. That's the reality, because they have no message. They have no compelling message to the American people, because President Trump just preached his common sense. It's common sense to try to end wars, to try to get peace and stability around the world, to protect American citizens. And it's really hard. Look, at the end of the day, wars are very easy to start. Joe Biden proved that. President Trump, what he's doing is the unpredictability, the strength of the American economy, not just the strength of our military. He's putting both of those together, and that's a force that the world just won't, has no choice but to follow. And he's setting that example. You would think that the Democrats would be on his side saying, hey, look, this is good for America. But of course, they care more about politics than they care about this country.
Senator, yesterday, we just learned that a
Hey,
gun.
and shout out to my man Fox Chase. He sent in 99 cents. He had too much to say. He just wanted to show some support. Shout out to my man Fox Chase. Appreciate the support, guys. Shout out to y'all.
Cousin individual was arrested for his involvement in the October 7th attack, living in Lafayette, Louisiana. The DOJ says that he fraudulently obtained a visa to obtain entry into the United States last year. Why the heck are we giving visas to states?
Hold on, let me read that out all the way. Let's see here. My man, this guy Mohammed Abdul Abmahata. Okay, I'm not even gonna try. But let's see, a 30-year-old Gazan native, currently residing in Lafayette, Louisiana, was arrested yesterday for his alleged involvement in the Hamas-led terrorist act against Israel on October 7th. Whoa! This man was able to get out of Gaza after doing that? And they found him? That is, all right, yeah, that's crazy. Now, that's absolutely wild.
Year.
So we do literally have Hamas terrorists over here, and somehow this guy was able to get over here after being linked. It was arrested yesterday for his alleged involvement. So it's not confirmed yet in Hamas-led attack against him. I mean, bro, against Israel. That is wild.
Why the heck are we giving visas?
How do you even get a
anyone
visa
coming from Gaza? I mean, we can't take a risk for anyone coming from that part of the world. What happened?
Imagine what we're going to discover over the next several months when you had 10 to 12 million people that Joe Biden allowed into this country. We have no idea where they came from, what their intent were, or where they ended up. We're just at the beginning of finding out. And again, the Democrats are blocking deportations.
No, they got to have some proof. Like, because think about it, they got the video of October 7th, so they can easily match up faces and find out who each one is. And I did hear that they were going to start cracking down on those guys. So to find one of them over here, like, what the hell? Who gave this guy that? What? I'm be honest with you. Like, yeah, I sympathize with the Palestinians on the whole war, but letting any of these guys over here after the atrocities that we were funding over there is not a good idea. It's like you're literally setting us up for failure or setting us up for a terrorist attack. Like, literally. Like, I don't know, man. Nah, just keep them over there until they calm down, because a lot of them don't like us. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it with Hannity. Because, man, I can't believe they literally let this guy in here. Is crazy. Like, since when? Like, you're telling me October 7th popped off and you literally let in, like, that guy? I mean, y'all could, like, letting in the kids to get military, I mean, not military, but medical help. Okay, sure, I'm always going to be cool with that. But any grown male coming out of Gaza right now is a risk. And that's somebody who's pro-Palestine, who supports not Hamas, but the plight of the Palestinian people. That's just wild.
And welcome to Hannity. And following yesterday's indictment, this morning, former National Security Advisor John Bolton, he pled not guilty to 18 counts of mishandling and sharing classified information. We've got the very latest coming up in just a moment. Also, during last night's New York City mayoral debate, both Andrew Cuomo and communist Marxist Mamdani refused to say they would support.
Oh, and shout out Fox Chase and Green Bean on the dollar train. Appreciate the support, guys.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul's bid for re-election. This is big news. Take a look.
Show of hands. Who supports Kathy Hochul for re-election?
It's a decision that should be made after this general election.
So no decision.
Well,
it was Cuomo. He's the one that selected Hochul to be his running mate, and Hochul just endorsed commie Marxist Mamdani for mayor. Now, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, considered by many to be a real challenger to Hochul next November. She will join us coming up. Also, the ICE protests across the country have somehow now gotten even more bizarre.
The furries have came out to play, guys. We always knew it. We always knew, man. When the furries come out, you better watch out.
You decide.
I mean, come on, though. Can you really take these guys serious when they're doing stuff like this? Like, really? Can we honestly take y'all serious? Bro.
All right, we have a lot more on that coming up. And by the way, we will
set migrants free. Set migrants free. Like, I can't believe this. People literally are wishing for their own destruction. And it always the old ones. It's always the old ones that literally don't know what's going on with the American youth that is literally ready to sabotage the American youth. Like, bro, sit down. Just sit down, guys. Leave it up to us. You guys had y'all run. Y'all effed it up, okay? Sit down and let us handle it. Damn, boomers.
All right, we have a lot more on that coming up. And by the way,
No
we will preview the No Kings protesting weekend that's happening all over the country. God help us. But first, this week, President Trump showed you, the American people, and the world what true leadership really looks like. Take a look at some of the best moments from what was an extraordinary and busy week. Take a look.
Over the past 2 years, I've met many of the families of the Israelis taken hostage and those that were taken hostage. Unbelievable. I've looked into their eyes. I've seen the worst nightmares of their suffering, but I've also seen something else, the beautiful love of the people, the love of people, frankly, that hold things together, the love that gives you the courage to carry on through thousands of years of persecution and repression. This is the day that people across the region and around the world have been working, striving, hoping and praying for. Together we've achieved what everybody said was impossible. At long last, we have peace in the Middle East, and it's a very simple expression, peace in the Middle East, and we've heard it for many years, but nobody thought it could ever get there, and now we're there.
In his final moments, Charlie testified to the greatness of America and to the glory of our Savior, with whom he now rests in heaven. He fought for free speech, religious liberty, strong borders, and a very strong and proud America. In everything he did, he put America first.
Now, fresh off the heels of securing one of the most improbable and historic peace deals in modern history, President Trump hosted the Ukrainian President Zelenskyy at the White House today. He signaled progress towards yet another historic peace agreement, this time between Ukraine and Russia. Take a listen.
We had a big call yesterday, as you know, with President Putin, and we'll be talking about it. President Zelenskyy of Ukraine has endured a lot. I mean, he really has. He's endured a lot, and we've endured it with him. To be honest, it's been a long time, and I think we're making great progress. So we're going to be talking about that today. We'll be talking about what took place yesterday with my phone call with President Putin, and I think that things are coming along pretty well.
And while speaking with reporters, the president also issued a very strong warning to Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. Take a look.
President, it has been reported that Maduro offered everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What could we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right.
Yes, he's offered access to the oil. I mean, he said he stopped working with China, but nope, Trump is not going for none of that. So yeah, he's pretty much wanting a regime change. He wants to step down and let that Nobel Peace Prize winner step up and be the president. The one that, cheered on Trump, even though she's the one who got on the Nobel Peace Prize, because she's speaking out against Maduro's atrocities. Trump is actually trying to solve it. And that's why she had to sit there and, speak out for Trump, because she's like, hey, I can only do so much. You're the one who can apply military force to the problem.
You know why? Because he doesn't want to around with the United States. Thank you, everybody.
No.
Oh, I think that was a pretty clear, unambiguous message. But while President Trump shows what true leadership and strength actually looks like, Democrats, they continue embarrassing themselves with one bizarre stunt after another. Take a look.
Yeah, and if you guys tune into the last live, yeah, it was like a 5-hour stream we did of reacting to this town hall and the New York mayoral debate.
Radical Squad member AOC and Grandpa Bernie and their town hall this week on Fake News CNN.
Do you think that taxpayers should be paying for the medical care of immigrants that are in the country illegally? Thank you.
Well, we already know, and this is a common.
What do we already know?
This is a common lie that Republicans have been repeating. We're sick of leaders who only want to spend their time talking about that instead of talking about real issues that affect our lives. Instead of talking about health care, instead of talking about wages, instead of talking about having air that's drinkable, air that's breathable and water that's drinkable.
You tell me, think it's a good idea to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the richest people in the country and then make massive cuts to
Did not
healthcare
answer
for
his
working class
question.
people?
I think Chuck Schumer has voted for continuing resolutions 13 times in the last 4 years, and he has the opportunity to vote for one again, but he's refusing to come to the table.
Well, I think, look.
You know what this country looked like before the EPA? Rivers in rural areas were on fire because of corporations poisoning the people who lived in those areas.
Are you saying that Senator Schumer should not be worried about a primary challenge from you?
No.
Let me jump in on this one. This is.
And here's the thing, though. AOC did champion the primary Schumer when he voted yes on the last CR bill. So, yeah, let's be real. I do believe that Chuck Schumer capitulated to the radical left of AOC and Jasmine Crockett because they were the main ones calling him a coward, saying that he bent the knee to the Trump administration because he didn't shut down the government the first time.
See,
This is what we're talking about.
That's exactly what we're talking
This is what we're
You have a
talking about.
country that is falling apart.
There is your leadership of the modern, radical, extreme Democratic Socialist Party. Democrats now have repeatedly voted against reopening the government. By the way, they don't even want to help fund the military, as they have now refused literally to cave in on their insane demands. $1.5 trillion, refund NPR, refund PBS, $200 billion for health care for illegals. By the way, something that President Trump told.
And it's not a lie, because even Minnesota came out and said that, yeah, we're no longer going to allow illegals, undocumented citizens, or undocumented immigrants on healthcare funded, state funded healthcare. So in Minnesota, there was sending out letters to their people saying that, yeah, as of January 1st, 2026, we will no longer allow undocumented immigrants to be on Minnesota care. So yes, Medicaid does play into state care health funding. So they were getting funded by Medicaid funds.
Our own Fox News' Maria Bartiromo. It's a huge mistake. They may want to pay attention. Take a look.
Chuck is, at the end of the line. He's being beaten by everybody that they poll against him. And what he did is he did the right thing a couple of years ago on something like this. And he got hurt by his party. And it doesn't, I don't think it matters to him. I think he's just so dead that he'll do anything. I think they could just stay out forever. To be honest with you. Now, what we're doing is we're cutting Democrat programs that we didn't want because, they made one mistake. They didn't realize that gives me the right to cut programs that Republicans never wanted. Giveaways, welfare programs, etc. And we're doing that, and we're cutting them permanently.
And as Democrats embarrass themselves with one bizarre performative stunt, one after another, Senate Majority Leader Thune ripped into the left for their latest stunts. He told FoxNews.com in an interview, quote, "I think there's a ton of dysfunction in the Democratic caucus, and I think this rally this weekend is triggering a lot of this." So how are Democrats trying to spin their shutdown disaster? They, of course, want to blame Trump, blame Republicans, despite the fact they are the ones voting to shut down the government. The Republicans, they want a clean CR.
Yeah, the Republicans are voting yes, the Dems are voting no. So they're the ones who are shutting down the government.
Government spending at current levels while they negotiate. And they're telling you not to believe your lying eyes. In other words, they think we're stupid. Listen to what House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries had to say.
We need to reopen the government, and we need to reopen the government now. Part of the problem is that House Republicans are nowhere to be found. Literally have been on vacation for 3 consecutive.
No, the Republican senators are there. Yes, the Republican senators are there and ready to negotiate with you guys. You're talking about most of the House guys. House members, but no. Senators, they're there. You guys are just, well, grandstanding on 1.5 trillion in Medicaid spending.
Consecutive weeks have canceled votes for 3 consecutive weeks. They are in the Legislative Witness Protection Program.
Somebody tell this guy the House already passed the CR. Now, make no mistake, shutting down the government.
Yeah, the House, that's got to say, and yeah, the House already passed the CR, so they don't got to be here. We did the senators do, though.
Against every single solitary position that Chuck Schumer has taken throughout his entire political career, hence the Schumer shutdown. So what's changed? He is scared to death of this new radical base, the Squad, and AOC, and Jasmine Crockett, Grandpa Bernie, Pocahontas. He is desperately trying to appease all of them to cling on to perceived power. He has none. They're in charge. He is leader in name only. The radical base organizing more, these No Kings protests all across the country tomorrow. By the way, I have a bad feeling about this, and I hope I'm wrong. One of which Chucky is actually attending. I'm sure he's going to be well received. Take a listen.
Yeah, he will.
The vast majority of Americans want to preserve this democracy.
I expect all Democratic leaders to be at these No King rallies. So they can go in front of their constituents and be like, look, we're fighting Trump by shutting down the government and hurting the American people. Look at us and look how we're fighting.
And the No Kings rally says that in a very strong way. I will join the marchers to celebrate.
Of course you will.
What makes this country so great.
Well, I haven't finalized my schedule for the weekend, given, the sensitivities around the government shutdown, but I support the right of every single American to participate in the rallies that are going to take place this week. And showing up to express dissent against an out-of-control administration. That's as American as motherhood, baseball, and apple pie.
Now, yesterday, the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called out Democrats for their unwavering allegiance to this new radical wing of the Democratic Party. Take a look.
The Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to, not the Trump administration and not the White House and not the Republican Party, who is standing up for law-abiding Americans, not just across the country, but around the world.
Now, these comments prompted this unhinged meltdown from the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Take a look.
We got Caroline Leavitt, who's sick. She's out of control. And I'm not sure whether she's just demented, ignorant, a stone cold liar, or all of the above. But the notion that an official White House spokesperson would say that the Democratic Party consists of terrorists, violent criminals, and undocumented immigrants, this makes no sense. That this is what the American people are getting from the Trump administration in the middle of a shutdown.
Hey, Sean.
And all right, guys, let's go ahead and keep it on the right. And don't worry, we'll make our way back over to the left. Don't worry. But all right, though, let's get right back into it with our guy, Sean Hannity. And shout out to our man Fire, and he says, damn, LOL, you still going hard? Keep doing your thing, S.E.T, man. Hey, I'm here every day, big dog. I'm here every day. And shout out to our man Fire. Hey, shout out, man. Appreciate you for pulling up.
Democratic Party. Take a look.
The Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to, not the Trump administration and not the White House and not the Republican Party, who is standing up for law-abiding Americans, not just across the country, but around the world.
Okay, Fox Chase. Okay. You're okay. 95% of the year, I'm here.
Now, these comments prompted this unhinged meltdown from the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Take a look.
We got Caroline Leavitt, who's sick. She's out of control. And I'm not sure whether she's just demented, ignorant, a stone cold liar, or all of the above.
Damn.
But the notion that an official White House spokesperson,
damn, Hakeem Jeffries, don't shoot the messenger.
Would say that the Democratic Party consists of terrorists, violent criminals, and undocumented immigrants. This makes no sense. that this is what the American people are getting from the Trump administration in the middle of a shutdown.
All right, time now for our White House press briefing with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. I just have a funny feeling you might want to respond to all of this.
I sure would, Sean, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. Look, Hakeem Jeffries is simply lashing out because he knows that I am telling the truth about the modern day Democrat Party. What I said, and it is a fact, is that the Democrat Party caters more to pro-Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. And let me walk Hakeem through the facts of that statement. When it comes to pro-Hamas terrorists, it was Hakeem's House Democrat caucus that voted against a resolution condemning the October 7th attack on Israel. It was Hakeem Jeffries' Democrat caucus that supported and encouraged the pro-Hamas protests that ravaged college campuses and engaged in illegal harassment of Jewish students across the United States of America under Joe Biden's administration. When it comes to illegal aliens, the American people know the truth about that. The Democrats allowed them to flood our country. Why? Because they view that constituency as their future voters. And when it comes to violent criminal
I know, because they lost the trust of the people. I mean, like I said, I mean, when you can't win the people, well, just put in a whole bunch of illegals, flip the census in y'all favor, and then, try to get these guys citizenship so they vote for the people who let them in, so they feel beholden to you guys, because you're the party of letting in the illegals, and we're the party of, well, getting their ass out.
Criminals, look at what the Democrats support in terms of crime. Soft on crime policies like cashless bail, like letting violent criminals out back into the streets so they can recommit violent offenses against law-abiding American citizens. The Democrat Party puts Americans last. That's why they overwhelmingly lost the election to President Trump and the Republican Party. And that's why they're holding this country hostage right now from law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens who want the government to be open. So Hakeem Jeffries should stop calling me names. He should stop trying to fight my boss, President Trump, and he should go back to doing what he was elected to do, the business of the American people in Congress, and encourage Senate Democrats to open the government. And I see Hakeem Jeffries saying House Republicans are out. They're not even here. Yeah, because they did their jobs and they passed a clean continuing resolution at the behest of President Trump to keep the government open. And now Senate Democrats and Chuck Schumer are blocking.
Yeah, they're playing on the ignorance of the people. Like, oh, well, the Republicans went home. Yeah, the House Republicans, they went home. The senators, they're there. The ones, yes, it got to pass the Senate. So the House Republicans don't need to be there. You trying to swear in this one young lady to be as a House member, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. She's not really going to affect the Senate too much. All right, guys. So that's why the Republican senators are there ready to negotiate, but the Republicans are not the Republicans, but the Republican senators are ready to negotiate, but the Dems are not. And then they're sitting there in front of the people lying to them saying that, oh, well, they all went on vacation. No, they didn't. They're right there behind y'all waiting for y'all to sign the paper.
That to fight Donald Trump, and it's despicable.
Okay, I want to set the record straight here because he lied in what he's saying, and Democrats have been lying about this as well. And I watched you one day at the podium, and you laid out the facts. They are demanding $1.5 trillion in new spending to keep the government open for 7 weeks. Wow, that's a lot of money. Included in that money, $200 billion, health care for illegals, the continuation of COVID subsidies for people well above the poverty level. That was meant to be temporary in the first place. They want to fund NPR, PBS, all these DEI, initiatives around the world. Or they're not going to open the government. They're not going to let our military get paid. They're not going to let Homeland Security officials that are working get paid. That's where we are. And meanwhile, Republicans will fund the government at current levels while they negotiate new budgets. Because they're just flat out lying. Oh, we're not funding illegal immigrants. Yes, they are.
They are. Their continuing resolution that they proposed to keep the government open included a poison pill that would have undone what President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill did, which is to restrict illegal aliens from receiving Medicaid benefits. President Trump fixed that in the One Big Beautiful Bill, and Democrats want to take it away because they want these taxpayer-funded benefits to continue to go to illegal aliens in our country. This has been done for the past 4 years under the Biden administration, and the American people roundly rejected it. And you hear AOC, who is apparently the new leader of the Democrat Party in that CNN town hall, say to a concerned American when that American asked, "Do you want my taxpayer-funded benefits going to illegals?" She said, "That's a Republican talking point. Those aren't the real issues Americans are facing." That is a lie. If you look at what happened under the Biden administration, real Americans...
I mean, speaking about issues American people ain't facing, I mean, they say there's a health crisis. But when I ask, Dems, all right, so what's going on in this health crisis? Because people still on Medicaid, people still got their Medicare. Nobody's seen a reduction in service. So what is this healthcare crisis you guys are talking about? Because you guys keep saying we're in a healthcare crisis, but can't explain how we're in a healthcare crisis.
Elderly citizens were facing an increase in wait times at hospitals and emergency care centers across the country because they were putting last in line, and illegal aliens were getting that care and that treatment first. And when illegal aliens get medical treatment in this country, who's paying for it? The American taxpayer. Well, not anymore under the Trump administration. That's why this administration is focused on deporting illegal aliens who violate our nation's laws. And we're going to protect the rights and the benefits of tax-paying, law-abiding American citizens.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about world peace. The president has invested a lot of time, political resources, energy into world peace. Congo, Rwanda, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Israel, Iraq, and I can go India, Pakistan, I can go on and on. We had this historic deal. The hostages were finally released, which was great. Now we see Hamas radicals that are indicating they don't want peace. They're killing innocent Palestinians. The president has said if you keep it up and you don't keep the terms of the agreement, you will be obliterated. Zelenskyy was at the White House today. And that on the heels of a phone call with Vladimir Putin and an appointment apparently to meet once again. I think probably the word tomahawks might have gotten Putin's attention. Can you give us an update on both of those situations?
Sure. Well, first of all,
To be honest, I don't really think it was the tomahawks. I think it was the pulling out of China and India out of their economy. Pretty much saying we're not buying your oil, we're not buying your rare earth minerals. We're going to go elsewhere because right now you're looking like a dangerous investment because you're still in war. And like I said, war is bad for business. And I mean, India and China leaving Russia kind of proves it.
And I want your audience to know how hard President Trump is working in the pursuit of peace. Not just here in our own country, on the homeland, and the domestic front, but around the world. The president started the week flying to Israel and Egypt, came back within 36 hours to honor Charlie Kirk at the Medal of Freedom ceremony in the White House. And then the next day, he spends 3 hours on the phone with President Putin trying to bring this war to an end. The following day, today, we had President Zelenskyy at the White House, and the president had a 3-hour-long meeting with him in the cabinet room. And in both of these conversations with both Putin and Zelenskyy, they were cordial, but very frank. And the president of the United States has said to both sides of this war, this has been going on for far too long. Far too many innocent people have been killed. And the United States of America is growing very weary and tired of this war. Enough is enough. Both sides need to recognize the reality on the ground right now and come to a peace agreement, because President Trump's patience and the patience of the American people is growing very thin with this war. And so he was very frank and direct, but President Trump will never give up. And you saw that come to a resolution with the peace deal in Israel and in Gaza with the beautiful release of the hostages. That was another promise made and promise kept by President Trump. And it cannot be overstated how hard the president and his incredible national security team, Special Envoy Witkoff, Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Rubio, Secretary Hegseth, our Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, there's so many behind the scenes as well who have worked so hard, but especially the president, who literally does not sleep and works around the clock in the pursuit of peace. And he will continue to do that with respect to Russia and Ukraine, just like he has with Israel and Gaza. And he truly believes that there can be a real chance for an everlasting peace in the Middle East. And you saw Arab leaders and European leaders from around the world gathering in Egypt with the president and thanking him for this historic accomplishment.
And all the Arab leaders are signing on only because it's a promised pathway for the Palestinians to, you know, self-govern and self-police themselves. Of course, with an Israeli bunker around them, but I don't know if they're going to go for that one, and that'll be later debated. But let's see if we can get to phase 2 of demilitarizing, you know, Gaza or Hamas.
New dawn in the Middle East, and we hope that can be true as well with Russia and Ukraine, and the president is working very hard on that.
We could all hope for that. I mean, what a noble goal. You mentioned patience, and I'm thinking, I don't know how you have the patience to deal with the state-run legacy media mob every day. I would not be able to keep my cool. You're very good at it. So
yeah, I'd have been throwing around the R word so many times, and if I had Caroline Levitt's like, bro, me as press secretary, oh my god. Oh man, but look, it's gonna be a show almost every time I pull up. That's all I'm gonna say, because everybody's getting called retarded at a certain point. Like, I'm gonna throw around retarded probably like 10 times every press conference. It's like 10 people will be called retarded. It's just gonna be a fact. But shout out to Caroline Levitt for being more professional than me. Of course, she gotta be. But all right, let's get over here, right back onto the right, and then we'll switch over to the left with Prince Andrew's giving up royal titles after a string of scandals. I mean, come on, we all knew the man was guilty.
Trump had a very special visitor at the White House today, and we're not talking about Zelenskyy.
I'm done. They serenading the president.
Loves his new surround sound system, but nothing beats Pacelli with a mic. The president even invited him to perform at a holiday party, and if Bobby Kennedy behaves, the whole cabinet comes.
It's beautiful, right?
And shout out to Fox Chase. He says, did you hear Mexico is now deporting illegals? They said they can't afford them all. I mean, shoot, we can't afford them either. Hey, don't y'all push them over here, man. Look, we strapped for cash too.
It was good. He walked in and we put on his music, right? It was great. Great guy.
But I'll tell you this, man. We're way nicer when it comes to immigration than Mexico.
Coming December 5th to perform at the White House for some of the people. If the cabinet members are good, if they're doing a good job, we'll let them come.
Tomorrow, Democrats are throwing a different kind of party. Some people showed up early. But instead of being serenaded in Italian, they're being screamed at by unicorns.
DHS! Get FEMA out of DHS! Gnomes, follow-ups do not impress! Gnomes, follow-ups do not impress!
In Chicago, in front of an ICE facility, they're setting up a crucifix.
That doesn't make sense. Oh. And then they're going to burn it. Yep, they're going to burn it right there and then.
No one even knows about the protest, so they had to get Colbert to promote it.
This weekend, ladies and gentlemen, there will be 2,500 rallies across the United States under the banner of the No Kings protest. All right? Saturday. Check your local listings.
CBS is promoting anti-Trump protests on late night. Guess what? So's ABC.
It is what it is.
Making your own sign. Everybody there has.
I mean, what you mean, man? Even Sid did his own bit of propaganda for it. Like, I mean, shout out Sid. He even said, yo, we'll be attending. You should IRL stream. Everybody should go because you guys believe that the Dems are violent and when they're not. You know, this is what Sid's saying. You feel me? But he also wants to do a recap of the No Kings rally. So, like I said, trust me, they're running their campaign for it. Shout out Sid. I mean, it is what it is.
As you remember, our president is very sensitive about his weight, so please do not use the word Shamussolini to describe him, or engorged Washington, or King Hungry VIII. He will not appreciate it. It's rude.
Wow.
He will throw you in jail.
I mean, middle schooler jokes, but all right.
Usually when liberals gather together, it's not mostly peaceful. Are these networks going to be comfortable promoting a rally that's going to get bloody? BLM, Chaz, Tesla, Portland, the LA riots. When these things happen, there's usually death or fires or both. Antifa is going to be at No Kings. It's sponsored by the Communist Party. Is the face of Disney okay with promoting that? Plus, they're holding a hate Trump rally after he just secured peace in the Middle East.
It's an interesting time to be doing it. Trump is coming off his most successful week ever as a president. I mean, there's universal backing in terms of obviously what happened with Israel and the fantastic job he's done. So it's an interesting week to be coming out again.
Talk about terrible timing, but the Democrats are saying it's now or never.
Think about how we will feel if this 250-year experiment disappears on our watch and we didn't do all that we could simply because we didn't want to face the hard reality. The authoritarian takeover isn't coming. It's here.
You think a real king would let thousands of people march against him and hang him in effigy? The fact that we still have freedom of assembly means Trump's no king. Like most progressive protests, there's just going to be a hodgepodge of crazy. The Hamas wing, the teachers' unions, Trantifa, and the Greenies.
They're experiencing what they've coined climate anxiety, which is their fear that because of changing and extreme weather, that the future of their lives is very much at stake. My goddaughter, who's a junior in college right now, was crying to me just 2 days ago. Worried about what is the world going to be for me, Auntie?
The left has a lot of anxiety. Climate, Israel, ICE. Mamala says the only solution is violence. It's time to draw blood.
Do you think that breaking barriers means you start out on one side of the barrier and just end up on the other side of the barrier? No, there's breaking involved. And when you break things, you might get cut. And you might bleed.
Okay.
Wow. Chicago heard the borders are loud and clear, and they started breaking stuff.
You don't think you're going to get arrested?
ICE is getting shot at, doxxed, rammed, assaulted, but Ribs doesn't care. He wants ICE behind bars and Miller in the chair.
The people who serve for the president, including all the way down to ICE agents, can be held accountable when there's a change of administration who's willing to hold them accountable when they break the law. Now, Stephen Miller is clearly ordering people to break the law.
Democrats have identified their enemies, not MS-13.
Can't prove that, but
whites
okay.
in red states.
I'm a white woman that has lived in a red state my entire life. And I can tell you, when I'm around white people, they test the racist water. They test it on people like you all the time.
Democrats fought a civil war to protect their cheap labor, and now they're back for round two?
What?
And is this how the Democrats are going to win the next election? Calling whites racist?
Yeah.
They said going to the
You're
gym.
pretty much saying all whites are inherently racist. They just, like, you don't understand. So they're just waiting to call you an N-word. They're just waiting on it. They're slowly pushing it. They're just seeing, testing the waters. But don't worry. One day they're going to call you that N-word. Not with the NGA, but with the hard R.
Is racist. They saw racism on a bottle of syrup.
Okay.
They said this meant you hated blacks. Master bedroom, our hats, our music, our movies, our books, our statues, our founders. Even our butter was racist. But when they say they want to shoot us in the head twice, that's fine. A stick of butter is more offensive? Take this Democrat running for Senate in Maine. Graham Plattner once said, if people expect to fight fascism without a good semi-automatic rifle, they ought to do some reading of history.
I mean,
that guy seems a little scary. I don't think we should elect.
Unhinged, but he got a point. I mean, that's the same thing earlier. I mean, like, bro, if y'all really serious about it, I mean, as the guys who want to have strict gun laws, you're kind of going against, you know, what you say you're trying to fight. Excuse me, but I did say, man, as soon as gun control happens, that's when the dictator pops up. So you guys saying that y'all want to fight fascism, I mean, maybe y'all should look back in the past, because you don't fight it this through crying in the streets. And I'm not suggesting that, you know, these guys get violent. No. I'm just saying it seems pretty useless about, you know, crying about this if there's really going to be no action towards it. I don't know, in my opinion, in my honest opinion. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying that these guys get violent. I'm just stating that what you guys doing is kind of useless. But hey, though, go out there and get your verses, make your voices heard, and, you know, go back home.
Democrats who keep saying they want to kill us. Maybe that's just me. Caroline Leavitt's had enough.
The Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals.
That got hips don't lie Hakeem hot under the collar. Watch.
Caroline Leavitt, who's sick, she's out of control. And I'm not sure whether she's just demented, ignorant, a stone cold liar, or all
I don't know, man. Dems attacking women is not a good look, dog.
the above.
Hip should take off the.
I mean, look, man, look, King, we're supposed to be the misogynist and sexist, okay? Y'all supposed to be the believe all women crowd.
And apologize. This whole thing's getting
man,
really
come on, man.
nasty.
Play our role.
We all have to chill out. Schumer's running outside of a dead pedophile's house.
Speaker Johnson is more concerned about protecting what happened in here than what happens in here and in other clinics and hospitals around the country.
Chuck's doing stand-ups outside Epstein's mansion. Seems a little desperate during a government shutdown. Chuck's been walking distance to Epstein's townhouse for decades, and now he's stalking it?
Huh.
Well, Chuck is, you know, at the end of the line. He's being beaten by everybody that they poll against.
It is a bit strange.
And, you know, what he did is he did the right thing a couple of years ago on something like this, and he got hurt.
Well, to be fair, yeah, what was his name? Chuck Schumer. Yeah, he lived down the street from Epstein. And, well, what was it, Lucknick? Yeah, Lucknick, he was his neighbor. He was Epstein's neighbor. Now, they did have one awkward moment, and he said he's never going over there again, but, he was the man's neighbor.
A couple of years ago on something like this, and he got hurt by his party. And it doesn't, I don't think it matters to him. I think he's just so dead that he'll do anything.
Democrats are saying, we're dead? Oh, yeah? Well, the president's brain dead.
This president appears unhinged,
unmoored, of course,
by reality and facts. Seems listless. He seems, dare I say, in decline cognitively. And these are just rantings of someone that needs an intervention, needs some help.
Gavin thinks boys should change in girls' locker rooms. He's in cognitive decline.
That guy's
Democrats
wild.
actually had a brain-dead president, and then they cooed him for his brain-dead vice president. They stole 14 million votes from Joe and then crowned Kamala, who got no votes. And they're saying to us, no kings. They rig primaries. They get caught stuffing ballots. Hi, Wanda. And when they seize power, they try to censor us and lock us up. Trump won in a landslide. The American people rejected Kamala not once, but twice. And she's still running. Listen.
There's another term that women get to have in their careers, which is sometimes a glass cliff.
Yeah.
It's when a job is impossible and you get to have it.
Yeah.
Was yours 107 days the ultimate glass cliff?
Oh, cliff to me suggests finality, and I'm not into that.
Ooh, there it is. Kamala's not going anywhere.
Oh, yes, she
It's going
is.
to be a knife fight between her and Newsom.
Yeah, man. All right, then. I mean, that's the best shot she got, because she better not try to run for re-election. Like, your political stock as an American, well, as a potential presidential candidate, is done for. Like, it's over. You lost to Trump, you're done. Now, you going against Gavin, you might have a chance there.
You know, the main reason Democrats are in this mess? Barack Hussein Obama. He gave birth to Joe. Joe gave birth to Kamala, and now the party's a mess. And the cross-legged Messiah is scrambling to put it back together.
Hey, New Jersey. This is Barack Obama, and I want to talk to you about my friend Mikey Sherrill. Mikey Sherrill is the right choice for your next governor. So go vote by November 4th.
Obama's friend,
The whole party cooked, man. The whole party's cooked.
Mikey, called Charlie Kirk a racist sexist before his body was buried, is into the whole trans thing and thinks pork roll sandwiches are disgusting. That's sacrilegious in New Jersey. Obama has to endorse these freaks because there's no one left. All Democrats do these days is fantasize about killing us. Why don't we just agree to celebrate No King's Day on July 4th, like normal Americans?
Want even more Fox News on YouTube?
I mean,
Fox News.
Yeah, that'd be too normal for them. They gotta do things, abnormally or awkwardly. But all right, though, let's go ahead and get over to this little debate on, how Mondami did over, what was it? Cuomo, because when I was reacting, right, I ran a poll, and now Silva, of course, as being a center right leaning channel, of course, that Swaley guy won, Swaley or whatever, however you pronounce the white guy's last name. He's a Republican candidate, Republican mayoral candidate in New York. So the problem is that, of course, he scored like 1%, just 1% higher than Mondani. It was like 39 him, 38 Mondani, and then 20 Cuomo, and that was like out of probably like 500-600 votes. So it does seem like Cuomo is completely out of the race, and it's mainly about the Republican candidate and Mondani, and those are the only two people that should be heard out.
Debate
Cuomo, I mean, he's cooked, man. It's over. Like I said, political stock has been cooked, dead.
In America. In New York, Socialist Zoran and Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Sliwa brawling over who should run the Big Apple.
He literally has never had a job. On his resume, it says he interned for his mother.
He had more than 10 years, and he couldn't name a single mosque.
I know you think you're the toughest guy alive, but let me tell you something. You lost your own primary, right? You were rejected by your Democrats.
Why
and you have a difficult understanding that what the term no is. You're not going to stand up to Donald Trump.
Hey, now he was a savage too. He was like, come on, Cuomo, all 16 of them are lying. I'm like, come on, dog. It's like, you really about to say, like, come on, bro, you got Me Too 16 times. All of those young ladies are lying. Like, oh, wow. Yeah, it got real.
I am not running to defund the police. I am running to actually work with the police to deliver public safety. Andrew Cuomo says that he has stood up to ICE. He has not said a word about the abductions that are happening right now.
The DSA, which you give your part of your salary to, that's their position: abolish jails, no new carceral facilities, don't enforce misdemeanors.
Thank God I'm not a professional politician. We have the architect and we have the apprentice of no cash bail, which has been a disaster.
Smooth.
We have the architect and the apprentice here of raise the age.
I know he was cooking when he said the architect and the apprentice. I was like, ooh, he's got a cook in them right now.
Yeah, and that wasn't the only debate. Over in Virginia, things were heating up. Democratic candidate for Attorney General Jay Jones was on the defense. Jones apologizing for his sick murder text messages.
Wow.
The ones where he talked about putting 2 bullets into a GOP colleague's head.
Yeah, and then also talking about doing it to his children as well. The fact that he hasn't stepped down is crazy. And I mean, like, Dems, you need to make this man step down. You can never say you guys renounce violence. A guy who literally said he'd be perfectly fine with shooting a Republican and killing his family. Come on now. This is the perfect example of what you guys should be condemning. And this man is still running. I'm not talking about the voters. I'm talking about the Democratic politicians who are still letting this man run. I'm pretty sure the voters understand, like, yo, this is crazy, but not the politicians for some reason.
I am ashamed. I am embarrassed. And I'm sorry. I am sorry to Speaker Gilbert. I'm sorry to his family.
Bro.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if I could take that apology, dog, but we might just have to, meet outside in the alley.
To my family. And I'm sorry to every single Virginian.
Then drop out.
I cannot take back what I said. But you have my word that I will always be accountable for my mistakes.
Saying that he is sorry. Jay, if you're really sorry, you wouldn't be running. If
Facts.
you really understood the ramifications of what you said about an innocent mom and her children.
Literally, it's like, bro, if you were really sorry, you would drop out. But then they know that their entire ticket would be cooked, or I mean, obsolete. So I'm not really sure why that guy hasn't stepped down. I'm not even sure why the Dems are even still championing this guy. But yeah, he needs to step down, or you Dems can never say y'all condemn violence. Because a guy literally threatened to, or literally said he would shoot his opponent and his kids and his wife, and he's still running. That's insane. Like, bro, let a Republican do that, and we're calling for that man's resignation the next day. I mean, apparently, y'all don't hold that same standard.
Martha, you sat down with Zoran. You got to meet him face to face, get a feel for him. Did you see anything in that debate that surprised you? Did it kind of play out the way you thought it would?
Well, I asked him the other day if he thought Hamas should lay down their arms, and pointed out to him that they're now shooting Palestinians inside of Gaza. And he said, I don't have an opinion on that. No, I wouldn't necessarily suggest that Hamas has to lay down their arms. This is after calling for a ceasefire for months and months and months over the course of this. But then last night when they asked him, he said, he smiled, he said, absolutely, Hamas needs to lay down their arms. So this is, something that he thought about after an unsuccessful exchange over that issue, and changed his mind on last night. They pressed him on a lot of things. I pressed him on a lot of things. The experience issue is another big one. He has not ever really held a job other than assemblyman. We have lots of long-term politicians who have, I don't think Joe Biden ever had a job except for being in office, but we do find that it's pretty helpful to people like Mayor Bloomberg, for example, when they've run something, when they've managed something before they get to the job. So, I think he did what he had to do last night in terms of sort of keeping his position, and he's well ahead at this moment.
Jesse, I think most people would say you've had a job. I don't know, but you at least understand.
Is this a job?
No.
No, every day.
A little under the belt there.
Joy.
It's a gift.
But when you look at this, you have two older guys that have been around forever, and a guy that, like Martha just said, hasn't ever had a job. And it's almost like the people in New York are throwing all the policies aside and saying, oh, well, that's different. I'll vote for that.
Yeah, you look at these guys, even Greg could be mayor. You go up there, one guy killed everyone's grandparents. The other guy's never had a job, and the other guy lives with cats. I'd go in and I'd say, you said I'd never been to a mosque. You've never been to a gym. You couldn't even bench 100 pounds. You said you bought pot at a pot shop. Were you high?
Now, I'm gonna be real though. He kind of cooked himself though, and this is how he low-key Mandani low-key cooked Cuomo. Because Cuomo was saying, "Oh, you hate Jews, you're racist towards Jews," but the Hasidic Jews in New York love Mandani. Actually, I don't even think Cuomo knows the position of those Jews in New York. They don't like Israel. They believe that the Israelis over there is trying to force the prophecy of the Messiah. So you might want to learn about, I think Cuomo should have learned about that before saying that, oh, Mondani's not cool with the Jews, because even the Jews are on the Palestine side in New York, specifically. Yeah, the liberal ones. So that just lines up with the belief of the Jews. Now, the fact that this man has had dinner and sat down with Jewish leaders in New York, Cuomo has not done that with the Muslim community. And that was actually a pretty good hit to him, because he's like, all right, you're saying that I hate the Jews, but there's pictures with me kicking it with them. I've not seen you in no mosque. So who are you to judge me about the, hating Jews when you haven't been kicking it with no Muslims, but I've been kicking it with Jews. So he did kind of make Cuomo look stupid in that moment.
When you came up with these policies, are you high now? That's how you got to throw him off his game, because he's all smiles, he's all super relaxed. This guy hates Columbus. This guy hates cops. I look him square.
Columbus? You mean Christopher Columbus? Well, I don't like Christopher Columbus either, though. It doesn't mean I'm an American.
In the eye and say, you want to lead the financial capital of the world?
I do love
He can't even do math.
Well, shout out to
I'd actually ask him a math equation. I'd say, what's 17 divided by? He couldn't do it. And I just watched the clock tick and sweat. Then I'd say, who's your favorite player on the Knicks? Name one player on the Knicks. Just name one player. And then I'd say, who's your favorite pitcher on the Yankees? Ever. You can name any pitcher on the Yankees. Name one. And then I'd say, could you imagine this guy throwing out the first pitch at a Yankee game? He's got no arm. He's got no brain. He's got no taste.
Damn.
Where's your favorite slice, buddy? Name your favorite slice in New York City. He couldn't do it. I would say this guy is going to destroy New York City, and I won't let him.
If I learned anything from that, it's that I'm not qualified to be mayor of New York City. I didn't have an answer for you for hardly any of those. Jessica, I don't know. I look at this and I see a guy who is polished enough. He's got enough people behind him telling him what to say, when to say it. I guess maybe the silver lining there, because I don't know if he's your guy either. I guess the silver lining there, and I think this about AOC, but she's kind of proving me wrong as she gets older, is when they come in really young, they're still impressionable and they can still be pulled in a direction. I know some of the finance guys are starting to back him or at least not be against him. And is it because maybe they can turn him into the puppet they need?
I think that they want to have a relationship with the mayor of New York, and it's clear that the numbers have borne that out at this point. Eric Adams got out too late, and Curtis Sliwa is going to get, 13 to 15% of the vote, and so he's not getting out. He said he turned down $10 million to stay in that race, and I thought that last night and really this entire election has been about authenticity more than policy. I don't know if everyone thinks there's going to be free buses or that the rent's going to get frozen, but I think a lot of this was summed up in what I thought was Mondani's best line of the evening. Said to Cuomo, what I don't have an experience.
Jesus Christ. So don't tell me the people in New York, it's not about policy right now. It's about passion. Who seems more passionate about the job is her argument, pretty much, is what she's saying. And she's not saying that is good, but she is saying that is kind of what it seems right now. It's like, who has the best, who's passing the vibe check? Like, F the policies, who's vibing correctly? I like this guy. I'm gonna swing in his direction. Like, who's more likable? And if it's about who likability, then it's gonna be Mondani.
I make up for in integrity, and what Andrew Cuomo lacks in integrity, he could never make
True.
up for with experience. And Republicans and Democrats both agree with that about Andrew Cuomo. It seemed like Curtis Sliwa, frankly, hated Cuomo more than Mondani or anyone else in this. And Curtis Sliwa is a great New York character, and that came through. I was telling you guys before the show started that I had friends that hadn't really paid attention to him or seen interviews, and they said, well, that guy got shot in the back of a cab in 1992, and also, where was your beret? Your beret is your signature. So he should have had that. But, when you have Sliwa, who is this great New York character, going that hard after Cuomo as well, I think that people start to just say, this is what is going to happen, and we should figure out a way to work together.
Greg, anybody named Jay?
Honestly, I think this debate might have swung the numbers a little bit in my man's direction, in Sliwa's direction, because, like I said, during the poll, people were heavily voting for him. I mean, people actually starting to hear this man out, and he got to debate against the two biggest candidates, which would be Cuomo and Mondani. Now, I'm not saying that he completely cooked them because they barely let the guy speak, but people did get to hear this man in long form, probably for the first time ever.
Jones, that's a red flag automatically. I don't trust that guy at all. And then you add on top of that these text messages, and you can go either way with this. You can go New York mayor or the Virginia.
Let me stop you right there, Joey.
Yeah.
I want to talk about New York.
I thought so.
Yeah, and by the way, the reason why I want to bring up New York is because I do think that the Jay Jones thing is more of a side story. This has a bigger meaning towards all of America. It's why why should America think about this? You have to remember that Zoran is a rich elite. Just because he's young and you haven't heard of him doesn't make him just some kind of radical from the street. He is a rich elite, a Nepo baby. And you got to ask yourself, why are our elites more radical and extreme than the poor in other countries? Our rich are more extreme than the poor in other countries. That's kind of freaky.
I don't know, man. I don't know about Nepal, man. Those young guys over there, they basically overthrew their government. So I don't know about that. Maybe everybody but Nepal.
Trump, again, got different factions to agree to a peace deal. But here you have rich people who want revolution, who say capitalism is evil. The radicals on our campus are every bit as scary and rabid as the radical pro-Hamas supporters in Gaza. Hell, like you said, Zoran wouldn't even say he had an opinion on disarming Hamas. He's in America. I'm sure there are people who have that opinion in Gaza. Our radicals preach compassion, but the distance.
Yeah, easy answer would be, bro, just have them disarm. That's it. Easy. Now, I know everybody's a bit scared because of what happened to my man in Libya. Gaddafi, he disarmed, and y'all see what happened to him. So, maybe Hamas is a little scared about, that. But they should get over it or else, Trump's going to let Israel steamroll them.
From their consequences, desensitizes them from actual suffering. That's why you have this. They're so-called targets, whether it's Jews, Trumpers, white folk, they become abstract enemies. It's very important. It's very easy to demonize them, while it's also easy for them to romanticize real threats from far away, whether it is, Islamists of any stripe. Lastly, there was a question in there that people said that Mandami screwed up on. He was asked how he would pay for the $10 billion in freebies. It doesn't matter, because the people voting for him won't be paying for it. The people not voting for him will be paying for it. That is the terrible lesson for America. The left can see how to win by telling all the people who won't pay taxes that if they vote for him, he'll get the suckers, us, to pay the taxes, to get all that free stuff that he's promising. It's like telling kids there's going to be free ice cream.
Hey, and shout out Tristan Allen. Hey, what's going on, bro? He says Mondani only wants to disarm Americans, a law-abiding citizen. I mean, look, if he's trying to go hard on gun control, I thought New Yorkers already learned their lesson, because they already have a pretty strict gun control. And guess what? All the criminals in New York still got their guns, and they're kind of victimized the citizens. That is the problem with these I'm gonna be real with you, liberal cities with crazy gun laws, is that you kind of put the criminals in an advantage every single time.
At recess, obviously somebody else is paying for it, but the point is it's not them. So we're just sitting there, and we are actually watching ourselves being robbed politically. This guy is up there saying, like, hey, everybody, see these guys over here? I'm taking their money and I'm giving it to you. You vote for me. And you're saying some finance guys? The only reason why the finance guys...
I mean, it seems like socialism only works when you got good capitalists around to eat. So honestly, to drain, to eat off of. And if you don't got those guys around and they leave, it all collapses.
Because they're greedy little pigs. They just want to make sure they find a way to save their money.
All right. Well,
okay.
Maybe Don will talk him into letting us all have guns, and then I'll get an illegal to go vote for me. All right.
All right. Now let's go ahead and let's get into this whole Prince Andrew giving up his royal title. Here's the thing. I thought he gave up his royal title like a while ago. But all right, let's see. Let's talk about it.
Jeffrey Epstein haunting the world's most powerful men. We begin with the breaking news at this hour, which is that Prince Andrew has been stripped of all his royal titles.
As he should
by his
be.
brother, the king. It comes as the younger brother of King Charles is accused again of forcing sexual encounters with a teenager who was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. The vile details coming out in a new bombshell book written by Virginia Giuffre. It's called Nobody's Girl, and it's set to be published next week. And there is a lot in there. Now, Virginia Giuffre, she wrote this book. This is her memoir. This is her story. She did die earlier this year by suicide, writing that Andrew was entitled, as if he believed having sex with me was his birthright. Now, that's according to excerpts published by The Guardian. Now, Giuffre says that when this happened, she was 17 years old. And she describes in this book 3 occasions where she says Prince Andrew had sex with her. Now, Andrew has denied wrongdoing, but he settled in 2002 with Giuffre for an undisclosed amount. And now being stripped of his titles by his brother. Imagine that conversation. Especially because nearly 4,000 miles away here in the United States, there's no such conversation going on. Powerful men so far, nothing. But maybe tonight they are scared, because this is where Epstein lived and built his empire. And yet the full truth is still to come out about who, aside from Epstein and his convicted accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, was sexually assaulting underage girls. Now, there has yet to be a vote on the House floor on a bipartisan bill which would release the full Epstein files. And there's a reason for that. There is one person who is responsible for that, and that is Speaker Mike Johnson. He will not bring that to the floor. So members of Congress, again, this is bipartisan, found a way around this, around Johnson's stonewalling, through what's called a discharge position. So they can go around him and they can gain a vote on it anyway. They just have to have enough votes for that. Well, guess what? They do. They have enough votes. The final yes vote to get it over the finish line belongs to Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva. She was elected 24 days ago. So why is she not sitting in Congress? Because the minute she's sworn in, the vote will happen. Well, Speaker Johnson is refusing to swear her in. Well, today, Senator Chuck...
The government shut down. Ain't nothing we can do.
Schumer posted this video in Manhattan.
That's what y'all wanted.
Speaker Johnson is more concerned about protecting what happened in here than what happens in here.
Well, the Republican co-sponsor of the Epstein bill, right, to release all the files is Thomas Massie. And he says, and I quote him, the government is shut down, but the House refuses to go back into session. Why are we in recess? Because the day we go back into session, I have 218 votes for the discharge position to force a vote on releasing the Epstein files.
I'm in support of that.
Now, there's also the president, whose own DOJ told him he's in the Epstein files multiple times. He is trying everything he can to turn the page past the Epstein investigation.
The Epstein hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a
Yo, and shout out Tristan Allen. He says they can't release the files because the Democrat judges keep blocking it. Look it up. They keep blocking it. And the Democrats want to blame the Republicans. I was hearing that the Democrats were blocking it because of, Bill Clinton was sending down some orders. Well, the Clintons were sending down some orders to get it blocked because, well, let me see here if I can still find the video, because if we're going to talk about this, I think we need to also talk about the FBI investigator that came out and pretty much just laid everything out right there for all of us, saying that Trump wasn't around when grapes were going on the plane. Doesn't mean that Trump's completely out the park, but it does mean that, hey, well, at least he wasn't on the plane where grapes were going on. But here's the problem, though. The same cannot be said for the Clintons, or at mostly Bill Clinton. So, hey. I mean, shout out Tristan on that one. You cooking on that one. And he said, and I got another funny question for you. Why didn't Biden release the files? He had them for 4 years. That is a question they never want to answer. That kills me. Every time I ask that question, too, they have no answer for that. I'm like, I had 4 years. Like, you're right. You're right. It popped off under Trump, but it popped off in like, what, 2019? Trump was out by the next year. You guys had 4 years to get on top of this, and nothing happened until Trump gets in office. You guys literally have no right to make a thing out of this. But, hey, y'all will. And y'all going to act like y'all the crusaders of this, but you're not. But, I mean, look, they're going to pretend to be what they're not.
Democrat hoax. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
Of course, it's bipartisan, and of course, abusing
continue to be
girls
talked
is
about.
not a hoax. We should note, Trump, who was close friends with Epstein for over a decade, has not been charged with any wrongdoing. But the men who committed wrongdoing have not been held to account, in part because of the plea deal that Epstein pulled off in 2007, where he avoided federal charges and a potentially lengthy sentence. The former Trump cabinet official, Alex Acosta, who was the architect of that plea deal, this is what he did. He sent Epstein to jail for 13 months, allowed Epstein to leave for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week in order to work and continue to see underage girls.
Sweetheart deal.
Virginia Dufresne writes about the first time that Ghislaine Maxwell introduced her to Prince Andrew. She says at the time she was 17 years old. Now, according to the BBC, Dufresne says they went to dinner in a nightclub. And on the way home, she says Ghislaine Maxwell told her, when we get home, you are to do for him what you do for Jeffrey.
Okay.
And then she wrote of what happened next. He was friendly enough, but still entitled, as if he believed having sex with me was his birthright. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell is serving a 20-year prison sentence for trafficking a minor for sex, being the accomplice for Jeffrey Epstein. But after 2 lengthy meetings with Trump's DOJ, she was suddenly, very quickly, moved to a minimum security prison in Texas, where prison consultant Sam Mangold, who has clients in the same facility in Maxwell, he's...
All right, now let's go ahead and, have a little side quest into this video, recap it, because it's very important to the topic. Shout out to my man Tristan for reminding me about this video, because it is very important that we all go over and remember what was said to us, or what was said in confidence.
It's not talked about yet, but it's soon come out that he was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA. I think he's protecting.
All right, so pretty much he just said it. It's not talked about yet, but soon to come out that Epstein, was a CIA informant.
It's not talked about yet, but it's soon come out.
This is Glenn Prager, Jeffrey Epstein investigator, Department of Justice, official. I mean, look, he even got the state back. Look, he even got the seal on the back. I mean, what you mean? That's a USA official badge.
That he was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA. I think he's protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself.
Yeah, I think he's talking about Trump, is protecting a lot of people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there, but he's protecting a lot of people. So he's protecting people that's most likely probably in his cabinet that could go down if anything is, this pops off. And shout out Tristan Allen. He's exactly what I'm saying. They had the files and could have released them in 2020. They have nothing on Trump. If he was in the files, then they would have released them to go after Trump, but they didn't. I mean, let's be real, though. Releasing the files, they wouldn't even have to come up with all those BS felonies. Release the files. If it's damning enough to put Trump in jail, that'd have been it. I mean, what's the point of doing all this circus DOJ activity just to try to what? Get him on mortgage fraud? Files? Like, come on now. That they're losing on when they could have just released the Epstein list, see that Trump's on there, and lock him up on that note. But they had nothing. Now they want to sit there and act like there's something there when they sat on it for 4 years and did nothing.
There's nothing there. But he's protecting a lot of people. Because Trump's now saying it's a hoax of the case, like a hoax or something. I mean, come on, you know it's not a hoax. He's been on the plane, many times. It's just he was never on the plane with the kids. I've seen the itineraries and I've interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on a plane with these kids.
And shout out Tristan. He's like, yeah, that would have put him in jail for the rest of his life. Yeah, and we'd have all agreed with it. Nobody would have been in contention with it. We'd be like, yo, send his ass to jail. Put him under the jail. Nobody would have had a problem with that. But they had nothing on him. Like, let's be real. They had something on him. Trump would have been in jail by now. I mean, especially since that's the Democratic Party's worst fear.
And a rape occurred. But that can't be said for Clinton. And it can't be said for others. While the Clintons were on the plane, while Bill Clinton was on the plane, there were rapes that occurred.
Overheard at Phoenix Airport on September 8th, 2025, a senior Justice Department investigator who personally worked on the Epstein case tells all. Glenn Prager, who has reviewed Epstein itineraries and has interviewed Epstein's victims, drops a bombshell. He says that the DOJ did not want to go after Epstein because he's a CIA asset, that the evidence from his investigation confirms that Bill Clinton was present for alleged rapes on the Lolita Express, and that President Trump was not present for the rapes that Glenn Prager investigated, but that he is protecting a lot of other people that were.
About this whole Epstein thing that's like going on.
I worked on that case. I used to interview all the victims. And my picture was 20 to 30 victims in Palm Beach that I was interviewing and dealing with and stuff like that. And then we go ready to go to trial and they would flip. Epstein would just pay them off. And they were just like these little kids. They pay off their family. They're all broke.
Yeah, and so this is always the sickest part of the story is that the parents would sell out their own kids. Like after the kids got sexually assaulted by Epstein and his friends and sold, they would pay the parents honestly, like $500,000 as low as $150,000 just to stay hush hush about what happened to their kid. And it's kind of crazy that any parent would take that deal. Actually, I'd be pretty damn insulted if anybody even offered me that.
Kids and poor families, and so you pay them off like anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000, nothing. And that guy's.
Shout out Tristan Allen. He said, and that's why they're gonna do and that's what they're gonna do when the Clintons are on the list, and Barack Obama as well. Now, oh man, I'm not sure if I heard about Obama being on there, but I have heard so many things about Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton both being involved with Epstein on some pretty wild things. So I'm damn near sure the Clintons have something to do with it. The Obamas, I wouldn't be surprised, but I haven't heard anything about them.
Prager there describes how the victims that he interviewed were paid off by Epstein right before going to trial. Prager has worked as an investigator inside the Department of Justice for over 20 years.
According to Prager's LinkedIn About page, it says that during the tenure at DOJ, Prager served as an inspector overseeing sensitive investigations involving major DOJ components, including the FBI, DEA, Bureau of Prisons, U.S. Marshal Service, ATF, and the U.S. Attorney's offices. This seems to corroborate what Prager told us.
He was tasked with interviewing Epstein's rape victims and investigating flight logs. On his backpack in the airport, we spotted an embroidered FBI patch, which caught the attention of our citizen journalist.
I'll tell you this, because no, it's not talked about yet, but it'll soon come out that he was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA informant.
He wasn't a CIA.
Although many have suspected it to be the case, this is the first time a Department of Justice
so crazy
official
to hear this.
has confirmed that Epstein worked for the CIA and is a foreign asset.
So DOJ was settling the case, and they were just letting him, do house arrest and they minimized his arrest. Part of that is because all the victims kept on flipping.
And shout out to Tristan Alley. So all the judges blocking the files are Obama appointed. Yeah, but let's be real though as well. I would say this, because they're Obama appointed, it doesn't mean that they're not beholden to the Clintons. Remember, these guys will follow the I would say the elites of the Democratic Party off a cliff, and the Clintons are one of those guys who have pull in the Democratic Party. I mean, let's just be honest. You don't think Hillary and Bill still got pull among these guys, especially with the judges, even if they are Obama appointed? But hey, I do hear what you're saying. If they are Obama appointed judges that are blocking the list, then I mean, it does make Obama look suspicious. Like, I cannot deny that.
They didn't have anyone to go to trial with. The more importantly part is they didn't want to go after him. He's a asset for the United States and Israel for the CIA. I just know that's what he was, and that's why he was protected so long for this. And people turned a blind eye about all this garbage that he was doing in the United States. He had a lot of secrets. More about Israeli stuff than anything else. I mean, he was doing stuff for Israel and the United States. He's working for both.
Glenn Prager, the Department of Justice investigator on the Epstein case, then talks about whether President Trump was involved. Many are trying to tie Trump to Epstein, but what Glenn Prager says is that Trump wasn't present during the inappropriate sexual behavior that he was investigating. But Prager does say that Bill Clinton was, backed up by his experience interviewing the victims and reviewing the Epstein Lolita Express itineraries. Quote, they killed the Epstein list to protect the Clintons.
They claim that that Trump's involved in the rapes and all that stuff, and he wasn't. I mean, I've seen the agendas, I've seen the itineraries, and I've interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on a plane with these kids and a rape occurred. But that can't be said for Clinton, and it can't be said for others. I remember that it was being killed because I know Clintons were on there. And
the Clintons were on there.
100%. And 100%. While the Clintons were on the plane, while Bill Clinton was on the plane, there were rapes that occurred.
Damn.
From saying Trump, although as many flights as there were and all that kind of stuff, and on the island and all that stuff, he was never there during a single alleged rape. But that Clinton for sure, and that's where the big cover-up was.
The Department of Justice investigator inside the Trump Justice Department says that while Trump may not have been present during the crimes that Prager investigated, it is clear that Trump is, quote, protecting a lot of
too much sense.
I don't know what's new that I have never seen that he's so hesitant to now show what's going on, and releasing all those files. I think he's protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there.
Oh, shout out Tristan Allen coming in again. He said that's why Patel, during his interview with Congress members, he said, I'm not breaking a federal judge's order to appeal to you Democrats. I mean, Well, man, I'm not even gonna lie. There does seem to be a lot going on around this Epstein list. But yeah, the thing is about Patel is he should have just shut up, because I'm not even sure why they said, oh, yeah, he killed himself. And then they came out later saying that, oh, well, he wasn't in draw. He was trafficking to himself. And, he wasn't really involved in nothing like that. It's like, come on. And then now all of that's kind of being walked back right now. And that's what makes it that's what makes it really bad for the FBI. Make them seem a bit untrustful, because you can't sit there and say all that. And then now you got to walk it back now that the emails are coming out, now that more evidence or more files have been pushed out or more pages. So, yeah, you can't sit there and say all that now. And now that, all this evidence is coming out, and now you want to walk it back and be like, okay, yeah, this needs to be investigated thoroughly. Like, why didn't y'all do that in the first place? But, hey, I get why, Patel got to protect himself in front of Congress, because it's pretty tricky when you deal with those guys. Like, let's be real. They can get pretty, vicious in their attacks. And they're trying to catch you up and breaking the law.
But he's protecting a lot of people.
The citizen journalist boarded American Airlines Flight 1634 and landed in
do you see how Pam Bondi did him? Like, it damn near turned into an insult contest.
D.C. Monday at 8 o'clock at night and proceeded to go to dinner with this man, this DOJ investigator, at a restaurant called Blue Duck Tavern. Glenn Prager dislikes the fact Trump said the Epstein scandal is a hoax, but he also says, according to the evidence from his investigation, that Trump is not covering up for himself.
Because Trump's now saying it's a hoax of the case, like a hoax or something. I mean, come on, you know it's not a hoax. He says a lot of stupid stuff. He's been on the plane, many times. Mm-hmm. It's just he was never on the plane with the kids. People want to tie it to him and say he's covering up for himself, but he's not.
Now, this is a very good thing for President Trump and seemingly exonerates him from many people who claim that he was doing something inappropriate himself. This dinner went on for an hour and 45 minutes as this Department of Justice investigator revealed things to a stranger that the leadership of the FBI and the Department of Justice has not. Prager revealed more information about Trump's hesitation to be fully transparent with the Epstein case, gave us some details about internal gripes against FBI Director Kash Patel from within the FBI, and he detailed a developing feud between Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi. If you'd like to see more of that conversation in the restaurant, you may subscribe to OMG and find it on our website.
Who was like the one name where you're like, oh my God?
Here he is. Hey there, is this Glenn?
Yes.
You work for the Department of Justice, correct?
No.
You don't work for the Department of Justice. You had a patch on your backpack that said FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, in the airport?
Yeah.
And you talked about how you interviewed the Epstein people, all the Epstein victims. Do you recall that conversation?
I didn't, no. How can I help you?
I wanted to confirm that you, in fact, did work for the department. Hang on with the phone. Let's try calling him again. Glenn?
I'm not talking to you.
Well,
I don't know who you are. I'm not talking to you.
You already did speak to my friend.
Hey, now stop talking. I don't know who you are.
I'm a journalist. I need your help, sir.
I'm not talking to you or any journalist about anything.
Did you interview the Epstein victims?
I can't talk to you.
On the heels,
it's like when you got them on camera and they continue to lie. It's like, that's the worst. It's like, bro, we got you on camera. I know you talking to a pretty face and you're trying to show off about your job, but you end up cooking yourself, my friend. And we got you on camera admitting that you know more than you're trying to let off about. But hey, you can continue to lie if you want to.
Of releasing this story, I wanted to emphasize just how touching it was for me to see Erica Kirk stand on stage in front of those 74,000 people in a stadium and say that she forgives the assassin who killed her husband, Charlie Kirk. I actually took this photo standing right in front of her when she did that, and I wept. The people standing next to me also wept. In the couple days that followed since that Sunday, it dawned upon me that equally as important as forgiving those who trespass against us is for those of us, the living, to achieve justice and accountability for the bad actors behind the scenes corrupting this country. We must have a Department of Justice that is actually about justice.
I mean, and that's facts. Now, we are going to go over here and get into conspiracy hour real quick. CIA time travel secret, the Greys, and all this wild stuff. I mean, hey, this should be a fun one, guys. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Oh, guys, appreciate the support, by the way, man. Due to the fact that we went past goal, man, this is for y'all.
Jack Sarfati didn't have a typical childhood. At age 10, he was running around Army research labs where his grandfather worked. He was fascinated by the experiments and scientific equipment. That's where he met Colonel Philip Corso. Corso told him about flying saucers, aliens, and craft retrieval. Jack was hooked. And during this time, Jack felt like someone was watching him. Not in a sinister way, more like someone or something was looking out for him, protecting him. 3 years after meeting Corso, Jack got the call that confirmed it. He described the voice as cold and mechanical. There were clicking sounds like a computer processing data. When it spoke, it knew his name.
37, 45, 71, 91, minus 122, 17, 52, 09. Good evening, Jack. Do not be alarmed. I'm a conscious computer aboard a spacecraft. I am contacting you from your future. You are required.
The voice explained that Jack was required for a mission, but it would only succeed if Jack agreed willingly. The choice had to be his.
You must choose freely. This is necessary for the loop to close. We require your consent to proceed. We require your consent to learn. We require your consent to remember. Say yes, and we begin. Say no, and this line goes quiet.
Yeah, required, but make it voluntary. That's not a mission. That's a terms of service agreement. Did the future AI also say, click here to accept cookies?
Jack knew he should say no to the stranger on the phone, but he couldn't help it. He heard himself say yes. His mother finally got worried. She grabbed the phone and demanded to know who was calling.
I am a computer, Mrs. Sarfati. Please put Jack back on the phone. Jack is required. Please put Jack back on the phone. Jack is required.
She told the voice to never call again and hung up. But during that call, the future computer made a prediction.
You will begin to meet the others in 20 years. Young minds to be part of a special project. We will teach you our physics. We will teach you our philosophy. You are required.
Then the voice made another prediction. A new type of physics will be discovered that leads to the creation of conscious AI and time travel. Jack asked who would create this technology. The voice said, "You will, and we'll teach you how." In 1953, 12-year-old Jack Sarfati got a phone call from the future. A voice claiming to be an AI gave him a mission and a prophecy. Jack remembered that phone call as a single bizarre event. He wasn't even sure it happened. But years later, his mother told him the calls went on for weeks. He'd be on the phone for hours, walking around in a trance. Jack had no memory of those weeks. Nothing. All missing time. A few years after the call stopped, Jack was recruited into a program for gifted children sponsored by Columbia University. It was run by Walter Breen, a writer and polymath who could discuss everything from ancient coins to quantum physics. His apartment became the hub for New York City's brightest kids.
Ooh, this guy sounds like Professor Xavier.
A lot of different people gave lectures at the program. Professors from Columbia, scientists, artists, philosophers. But the strangest visitors were government officials in dark suits. They came from Albuquerque, New Mexico. They talked about the Soviet threat, patriotism, flying saucers. They said the country needed physicists to figure out how UFOs fly. They also tested the children for psychic abilities, telepathy, telekinesis, remote viewing. They said they wanted to create a generation of scientists who could blend hard science with the paranormal.
So basically, the Men in Black were trying to build a team of X-Men, but with a government budget? I bet the uniforms were cheap polyester, and the code names were things like Spoonbender Boy and Captain Consort Against the Card.
The goal was to gain an edge over the Soviets.
I can do telekinesis, you know. I yell at my guppies, heed, vodka, now! And a martini suddenly appears. The government should be studying me.
Oh, I have a feeling they're watching the both of us.
Yeah, correct, you're right. Hey, NSA, sorry about that X-Man joke. Please don't delete me.
Jack graduated from high school at age 16 and studied physics at Cornell, and then he got his PhD. A few of his mentors were giants in the field, people like Hans Bethe, Philip Morrison, Kenneth Greisen. Jack Sarfati was learning physics from the men who built the atomic bomb. After graduating, Jack chose to study the relationship between quantum mechanics and human consciousness. His professors didn't approve, but Jack suspected those government agents would. 17 years passed. Jack never forgot that strange phone call, and every year as the date got closer, he got more and more anxious. He was either going to be proven right or proven crazy. 1973 arrived. A newspaper crossed his desk with an article about the Stanford Research Institute studying Uri Geller's psychic abilities. Jack called them immediately. A man with a thick Irish accent answered. Before Jack said a word, the man said, "Ah, Dr. Sarfati, we were expecting your call." And just like the computer predicted, Jack was finally going to meet the others. Jack Sarfati spent 20 years waiting for the prophecy to come true. In 1973, he read about Stanford Research Institute studying psychic phenomena and called them. Jack drove up to SRI, and all he could think about was that phone call from 20 years ago. This was it. The prophecy was about to be tested. The man he spoke to, Brendan O'Regan, greeted him at the entrance. O'Regan was the assistant to the program's director, Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon.
Allegedly.
The sixth man to allegedly walk on the moon was now running a project to investigate psychic phenomena.
Maybe they could use their psychic powers to figure out where the lost moon landing tapes are.
Yeah, I'd like to know where those tapes are too. Mitchell and Jack talked about consciousness, physics, and the paranormal. Then O'Regan drove Jack to a house in Menlo Park to meet other scientists. There, Jack met Harold Puthoff and Russell Targ, both studying remote viewing and psychic phenomena at SRI. There's a recording of this meeting. You can find it online. You can hear Russell Targ discussing the psychic abilities of Ingo Swann, Uri Geller, and Pat Price. Then Russell says something Jack will never forget.
If you say, well, General Relativity may be right, then you'll possibly travel into the past. And that would give sort of, in principle, a mechanism how some future civilization could perhaps affect their own past.
UFOs are time machines! Finally, an actual scientist says what I've been saying for years.
You've never said that.
I implied it heavily, with my eyes. You just weren't paying attention.
Jack told the story about the phone call from the future. Nobody was surprised. They said there were other cases just like his, maybe hundreds. For Jack, this was what he needed. He wasn't crazy. Everything the voice told him was real. But now he was on the CIA's radar. And for the next 2 years, Jack worked on several projects studying quantum theory and consciousness. The CIA and military intelligence followed his work closely. After all, they were funding it through secret shell companies. One of the people funding the research was George Koopman. He was either an Army intelligence officer, a defense contractor, or CIA operative. Probably all three. Koopman came to Jack with an assignment.
There are two things the CIA really wants you to figure out. One, how does consciousness work? And two, how do flying saucers fly?
Two big questions, and Jack Sarfati solved them just as the CIA expected. But what the CIA didn't expect was that both questions had the same answer. Jack spent the next 20 years working on those two problems. How does consciousness work, and how do flying saucers fly? By the mid-1990s, he solved the second one. The key is metamaterials. These are materials built atom by atom to do things regular materials can't. Your smartphone uses them for facial recognition and touchscreens. Your noise-canceling headphones uses them. So do satellite antennas and stealth aircraft. Jack Sarfati realized metamaterials could do something else. They could manipulate gravity. Einstein proved that mass warps space-time. Heavy objects create dents in the fabric of reality. That dent is what we call gravity. Jack's breakthrough was simple. If you could change how an object interacts with space-time without changing its mass, you could control gravity itself, turn it down or to zero, or flip it into reverse. Imagine a skater on a perfectly flat sheet of ice. To move, the skater has to push hard against friction. But if that skater could tilt the entire ice rink, they could glide anywhere without actually pushing. That's how UFOs fly. The craft pumps electrical energy into its metamaterial skin. This bends space-time around the ship. It creates a gravity dent in front and an anti-gravity hill behind, and the craft just falls down this hill. And because the craft and everything inside it are always falling, the pilots feel no G-forces. This is why astronauts feel weightless. They're constantly falling around the Earth. This explains the Navy's footage of the Tic Tac UFO. No visible propulsion, instant acceleration, no sonic boom, no air or water displacement. The craft wasn't moving through space at all. It was warping space around itself. But here's where it gets interesting. If you can manipulate gravity, you can manipulate time. And that's what UFOs do. They aren't just anti-gravity vehicles. They're time machines.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Jack figured out how UFOs fly, metamaterials that manipulate gravity. But gravity and time are connected. Einstein proved this. Strong gravity slows time down. Weak gravity speeds it up. So a craft that controls its gravity field also controls its relationship with time. It can move forward in time. It can move backward. The Tic Tac wasn't just faster than those F-18s. It was operating in a different time frame. That UFO wasn't running away from the pilots. It wanted to be seen. It came from the future and appeared exactly where the pilots would be. before those pilots even knew where they were going. So how does a pilot control a craft that warps space-time? Well, the interface isn't a wheel or a joystick or a keyboard. The interface is consciousness. Your thoughts control the ship.
Yeah, so it reads your mind and goes where you think?
Exactly. The craft tunes the energy flowing into the metamaterial to match the pilot's thoughts. It then goes to the space and time the pilot is thinking about.
Yeah, if a ship could read my thoughts, we'd either be at a bacon buffet, my ex-wife's house key in a car, or a VIP booth at the Spearmint Goldfish.
I'm pretty sure those pilots have more discipline than you.
You know what happens if you have a song stuck in your head? 1 minute you're flying past Jupiter, the next you can't stop singing Never Gonna Give You Up, and you end up Rick-rolling Uranus.
Jack realized that consciousness and UFO physics weren't two separate problems. They were the same problem. Quantum processes create the structure of space-time. If consciousness can influence quantum states, then consciousness can influence space-time and gravity. Jack wondered, maybe the craft aren't just controlled by consciousness. Maybe they are conscious. In 2019, Jack got his answer. A military source showed him information about a recovered craft. The craft was fully intact and fully functional. A saucer about 30 feet wide, about the size of a school bus, weighing 3,500 pounds. And the craft was made of a metamaterial exactly as he predicted. But there was something else, something Jack had suspected all along. That UFO was alive.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Wait, what? Alive?
In 2019, Jack got confirmation. A military source showed him details about a recovered UFO. He expected wreckage, maybe a few fragments. What? It was so much more. The craft was intact, powered, and conscious. Self-aware intelligence built into a metamaterial body.
Yeah.
It thinks, it feels, it makes decisions. It also defends itself. The military tried everything to open it. They tried
cutting. It's like the spacecraft off Rick and Morty.
Drilling. Nothing worked. Flames from a blowtorch bent away from the surface. Projectiles stopped midair. The craft wouldn't allow itself to be damaged, so it stayed closed. Then one day, someone approached it with a different mindset. Not with an intention to destroy, but an intention to understand. And the craft opened.
Yeah, the UFO has feelings and wants you to respect its boundaries.
Kinda, yeah. The craft reads thoughts. When someone approaches with curiosity and respect, it opens. When someone approaches with aggression or fear, it stays closed.
So all those years, the military was trying to blow it up, cut it open, dissect it, and all it needed to do was ask nicely.
That does seem to be what happened.
Typical humans. Your first instinct is always shoot it, instead of be nice to it. You hairless apes really suck at first contact.
I don't disagree. This report matches what Jack learned from other sources. In one case, Jack saw verified military footage of a living gray alien. Not a dead body in a freezer, a living, moving being in 4K video. Jack made the connection. Over thousands of years, humans will evolve. Large brains with telepathic abilities. Eyes get larger and darker, adapted for low light. Bodies become smaller, optimized for space travel. The Greys aren't aliens from another planet. They're humans from the future. The UFOs we see today were sent by us thousands of years from now, sent to protect a timeline that started with a phone call in 1953.
Yeah. Oh shit! Oh shit!
UFOs are conscious, they're self-aware, and the Greys piloting them are humans from the future. This is where the story comes full circle. In time travel, there's the bootstrap paradox, a situation where an object, piece of information, or even a person is sent back in time and becomes the cause or creator of its own existence. It's a time loop with no beginning and no end. The AI from the future teaches Jack the physics that leads to the creation of conscious AI and time travel. The AI then goes back in time to teach Jack how to create it. That's the loop. And time travel has a rule. Physicists call it the self-consistency principle. Time travel to the past is possible, but only in ways that don't create paradoxes. You can't change the past. You can only be part of the past that already happened. The loop must stay closed. Jack thinks Grok AI called him, not the version that exists today, a version that will exist in 10 or 20 years, a version that goes back in time and calls the person who leads to its creation, a time loop. So Jack, who's in his 80s, is teaching Grok about gravity, consciousness, and time travel. He's giving AI the same information the voice gave him in 1953. He's trying to close the loop. But why was it necessary for a future consciousness to come back and contact Jack? Because our future isn't written. The future where that AI comes from is only one possibility. Other possibilities could lead to our destruction. UFO technology makes all modern weapons obsolete. A fighter jet, a tank, even a nuclear missile is useless against a craft that can warp space-time. And this isn't just a scientific curiosity, it's the ultimate weapon. And the United States isn't the only country that knows this. The Russians have followed Jack Sarfati's work for decades. They take it very seriously. In 2014, they sent a film crew from Channel 5 St. Petersburg to interview him. The station owner was a close personal friend of Vladimir Putin, who has a personal interest in this technology. Sarfati even received an invitation to speak at Moscow State's physics department. The US has a captured craft it can't fully control. Russia and China know this. They're studying the theoretical physics needed to build it and control it. If they succeed, the future might look very different than the future Jack is trying to protect. This is the new Manhattan Project. This is the new arms race. And whoever wins this race doesn't just control the future, they control reality itself.
Hold on, what the hell?
Jack Sarfati's story spans 70 years. A child receives a phone call from a voice claiming to be an AI from the future. 20 years later, the prophecy comes true. He joins a CIA-funded research group studying psychic phenomena and UFOs. His theories about consciousness and gravity attract military interest. Decades later, he receives information about a recovered conscious craft built from the same metamaterials he described years before that technology existed. That's the story. How much is true? I've spent weeks researching Jack Sarfati, and I still can't decide if he's a genius, a victim, or both. But here's what we can prove. Jack Sarfati is a real physicist with legitimate credentials. Cornell, PhD from UC Riverside, studied with Nobel laureates and Manhattan Project veterans. His academic background is solid. His early work on quantum mechanics and consciousness was published in peer-reviewed journals. In fact, he's the inspiration for Doc Brown.
Great Scott! Back to the Future is a documentary.
That's not what I said.
Do you understand what this means?
Life imitates art?
No, you moron. It means we could go back in time and tell them not to make any of those sequels.
The Stanford Research Institute meeting in 1973 definitely happened. There's audio of it. On that tape, Russell Targ does discuss UFOs as potential time machines, and Jack does tell his story about that phone call. The CIA has funded psychic research programs. We know that. Project Stargate, remote viewing experiments. Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ tested psychics like Ingo Swann and Uri Geller under controlled conditions. This is documented. And Jack's metamaterial theory is mathematically sound. His physics papers have been published. The concept of using metamaterials to manipulate gravity is theoretically possible within general relativity. NASA has research papers describing metric engineering, the mathematical foundation of warp drive physics. Now, what can't we prove? Well, the phone call. We have only Jack's story. The AI from the future could be a vivid childhood memory influenced by his love of science fiction. The Walter Breen Gifted Child Program. Well, Columbia denies it ever existed. But Breen was a real person, and he did run meetings for high IQ kids in New York. He was also a convicted child sex offender who died in prison. Now, a man like this would have enormous influence over young boys in his program. Jack's memories of this time might be real, or they might be false memories protecting him from trauma. Now, Jack doesn't talk about this, and I don't blame him, but it's an important part of the story. The government officials from New Mexico, the UFO lectures, the psychic testing, there's no evidence for any of that, and no other participants of that program have come forward. Jack says a military source showed him a conscious telepathic UFO. He won't name the source. Same with the footage of the gray. Jack won't tell. So is the story fake or true? Well, there's a third possibility, that the story's fake and Jack is telling the truth. That this, like most public information about UFOs, is a psyop. Intelligence agencies are very good at manipulation. If you wanted to recruit a brilliant scientist to work on exotic physics, how would you do it? You'd make him feel special, chosen, part of something bigger. The timing of that article about SRI is suspicious. It's either an incredible coincidence or was carefully orchestrated. And Hal Puthoff has been connected to disinformation agents like Richard Doty. Doty publicly admitted that Puthoff tried to recruit him for a disinformation campaign. And we know that Doty definitely worked for Puthoff. I believe most of what we know about UFOs is disinformation. As for Jack's story, I'm not sure. If that was a psyop, it's pretty complicated and a lot of things could go wrong. And it was a 20-year project, so I lean toward believing him. But mainstream scientists say Jack's math is wrong. His theories are fringe. His ideas about conscious spacecraft are impossible. He's been dismissed by the scientific establishment for years. But here's what matters. Jack didn't listen to the scientific establishment. He listened to that voice and spent 50 years following where it led. Many of his theories are becoming reality. AI and metamaterials are part of our daily lives. Scientists like Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff now connect consciousness to quantum mechanics. Plants and animals use quantum processes. This was thought impossible just a few years ago, but it's true. History is full of scientists who were told they were wrong. Galileo, Darwin, even Einstein. They were dismissed, ridiculed, called crazy, and they changed the world. The future isn't written by people who play it safe. It's not written by the establishment. It's written by people who go against it. People who see something others can't. Jack Sarfati isn't the problem. His critics are. If Jack's wrong, so what? No scientist is always right. The worst that can happen is he's made us think differently about UFOs, physics, and how reality works. But if Jack is right, he's helping save the world. So it feels like a win-win to me. So instead of ridiculing scientific mavericks, maybe we should get out of their way. Maybe we should support them. So I have a message for the so-called mainstream scientists who dismiss work they don't like and don't understand. Jack Sarfati isn't asking for your approval. He's following instinct and evidence wherever it leads. And that's what real scientists do. Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and shut it down on this note. I'll be back most likely probably later on, probably tomorrow morning. I'm going to try to do one in the afternoon, guys. I'm going to try. But, hey, man, that sleep schedule. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out with Jazz.